It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
We are the sports analysts by the fans and for the fans. By the fans and for the fans, we are live right now. We have a ton to talk about. Coming up in the 4:30 block, we have Carl Coulonge versus Greg Polius about pressure in the NBA. But let me introduce my panel. Commissioner Ray, how you doing, sir?
I'm good. You know, I had a day off today. I hurt my knee, but I'm still good. I'm good.
Hope you feel better, man. We have Mr. Box Office himself, Travis McKay. Travis, how you doing, sir?
I'm good, sir. How's it going, man? I'm ready for this. I need to see this debate. We've already had our little off-the-air conversation, Carl. I'm waiting to see how this turns out, but I'm good.
And we have Declan's in the building. Declan, how you doing, sir?
Carl, thanks for having me as always. Crazy Wednesday. Can't wait.
Yeah, so the topic of today, Jalen Hurts. I was driving into work this morning, and that's all the radio stations are talking about. Was it the right move? How Philly still has to pay Carson Wentz. You know, will Carson Wentz ever start a game again in his life? Is this the right call? I know this panel has definitely discussed this at a high level about, when is Jalen Hurts going to get the start? We've even mentioned Doug Peterson. Is he going to get fired? So the move is finally happening heading into week 14. Declan, let me start with you since this is your division. What are your thoughts here?
Well, it's also Ray's division. I mean, like, come on.
Ray's too. We don't count Ray, though. We don't count. Listen, we don't count him because the Cowboys going to Cowboy, so we don't count him.
I guess it's not his division this year or the past 25. Oh, never mind. Sorry. Anyway.
When's the last time they did actually win? Not anything with that win.
Anyway, so Jalen Hurts, Jalen Hurts has his first start this week. Carson Wentz hits the bench. And a lot of, throughout Philly, there was some calling for this. There was some justification. Is it Carson Wentz or is it everyone else? Wentz has not looked good this year. He's been bad this year. It was a warranted benching. We'll see what it comes. He's a pretty expensive backup, and we'll see where his future lies for the rest of the year. And as far as, I guess, next year is concerned, too. But it's a big move. I think he'll play again, though, if that's what the question is.
Ray, what are your thoughts here, man?
I don't know what to really think because, if you're going to start Jalen Hurts, against the Saints is not the best idea to start him at. You know what I'm saying? The Saints defense has been playing great lately. And, yes, Carson Wentz has been really bad this year. I'm talking about really bad. I don't know what really happened because last year
he was really good.
You turned it up, but I don't know what's going on with that, to be honest. So we will see what happens, but I don't believe they're going to get rid of Carson Wentz because I don't believe Jalen Hurts is set up for success, to be honest.
Now, Travis, is there pressure on Jalen Hurts? Does he have pressure from the media and the fans, or does he have pressure among himself to perform at a high level?
I mean, to sit here
like that.
Right.
You got pressure from everyone.
There's pressure because he has to. It's not necessarily pressure because you're replacing Carson Wentz. I mean, I don't think it can get much worse than what it already is. But the pressure put on him from the fans and the media for the simple fact they think we all know the old saying in sports that the backup quarterback is the most popular person in town. So now they have made Jalen Hurts the most popular person in town when they want to see him in this game because Carson Wentz is stinking up so bad. The problem is here with Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts is not. It's not like they putting in a number one overall pick here. I mean, he got beat out at Alabama by Tua, and then at Oklahoma, he wasn't necessarily a world beater from the passing aspect of football. I mean, that
did have that big comeback over Baylor though.
What's the coach name? Riley. What's his first name?
Lincoln Riley.
Lincoln Riley. He has that great system where he's pretty much turned out like 3 Heisman candidates.
Baker, Kyler.
Right. He's not exactly. He wasn't a world beater from the passing game, so I don't think it's going to improve necessarily in Philly from a passing standpoint. That offensive line is atrocious right now. I mean, we still have the center up there who's one of the best in the business, but Kelsey. The rest of it, nobody else on that. There's nobody else on that offensive line in the original position that they intended them to be in at the beginning of the season. The skill positions have not The skill positions have not produced. It's a mess in Philly. I mean, it's just one of those bad years where all things, anything that can, it's like the Cowboys. Anything that can bad happened to them this year. And it's just one of those years. I don't think it's over for Carson Wentz in Philly. I'm interested to see what happens. I think they just need to give him somewhat of a hard reset. I said it, I think, last week, where my issue with Doug Peterson has been his inability to rein Carson Wentz in. I mean, as the head coach, when you see that your starting quarterback is struggling like that, I need you to do something from a play calling standpoint, something to help this kid out, because he's obviously out there struggling. And I just think Philly is just in a bad way. It's just one of those seasons where it happens. That's what makes the NFL so great, man. It's a random thing. Like, sometimes the ball doesn't bounce your way. It happens. They're having a bad season.
Especially when Carson Wentz overthrows a ton of yards.
And speaking of the ball bouncing ways, the Giants, the ball seems to be bouncing their way right now. Big win against Seattle. Ray, what are your thoughts here?
I will say this, I clown the Giants a lot, without a doubt. I'm definitely not a Giants. I hate the Giants. I can't stand them. But I did say that the first time they played the Cowboys, I said it would be a layup. It would. We won. It wasn't a layup.
We're not here to talk about the Cowboys. We need to talk about the Giants. Talk about the Giants, right? We don't care about the Cowboys.
We are talking about the Giants. We are. This is true.
I also did say that their defense was pretty good, and their defense has been really good. The offense is coming along. They make enough plays. I don't know why I kind of know why everybody has so much doubt with Daniel Jones, just for the fact on where he's been drafted. But he's not bad. He's not completely trash. He's not great, but he's young. They're coming together. I said this a couple weeks ago, that hire was pretty good for the coaching. And Giants fans, the way y'all trash y'all GM, y'all need to start giving him some credit, because
no, we don't. He's trash. He's terrible. This is coming.
I got a lot to say about that.
This is coming from a Panthers fan, where he was before. He's trash.
What he's done with the Giants is looking like it's working. It's coming together. He hired the coach. He got some good players, and that are starting to play. And the way you guys are talking about, he was the worst GM in the NFL.
Top 5.
Apology. That's all I'm going to say about it.
I give more credit to the coach than I do to the GM.
Okay, so Trav, talk about it. So we're definitely giving credit here, to some form of credit to the Giants. Impressive win this past week.
Oh, that was an impressive win. I mean, I wouldn't call it necessarily the win of the century, as Deck would call it, but it was definitely an impressive win to go into Seattle.
It was the upset of the season for 24 hours.
to go into Seattle with a backup quarterback and to get that W when you needed that W right there against the playoff caliber team. That was an impressive win right there. Yes, definitely major underdogs, man. I'm sitting here trying to compare the schedules between them and Washington to see who gets this playoff spot. I mean, we got the Giants. They have what left? The Cardinals, the Browns, the Ravens, and then the Cowboys, whereas Washington only has the 49ers, the Seahawks, the Panthers, and the Eagles.
It's going to come.
This is going to be a great race to watch. This is going to be a great playoff race to watch right here, because I probably see more wins for Washington than I do the Giants on paper, but I'm not ready to call this one yet. I think we're just going to have to wait till week 17. Maybe, Hey, Ray, maybe your Cowboys can play spoiler here, man. Maybe I could do something right. I doubt it, but,
We'll get that 4th consecutive sweep. I think we will, and that would be lovely. I'm just saying.
It ain't happening. Listen, I got a lot.
You go, Declan. Go ahead. The floor is yours, sir. Go ahead.
Thank you, Top Chef.
No problem.
Listen, it was a great win. Going into Seattle, one of the toughest places to play with or without fans, with a backup quarterback against a playoff caliber team, against a top 3 quarterback in the NFL. And our defense held them to 10 points. Safety's not on them. So 10 points, 3 in the first half, and a touchdown late in the fourth quarter. The Giants defense is the heart and soul of this team. Top 10 this year, really been showing out. Leonard Williams in the pass rush, he won Defensive Player of the Week. I won't pick him, don't worry, but for my game ball. But He won Defensive Player of the Week. Bradbury solidifying himself as a top corner. Jabril Peppers, who we got in the Odell trade, which, by the way, I'm not a fan of Dave Gettleman, but he fleeced the Browns in that trade. Completely insane how he did that. I'll give him a lot of credit there. Got 100%. Jabril Peppers.
Well, I still wouldn't call it a fleece, but go ahead.
I would call it a major victory, and I'm very hard on the Giants front office the past couple of years. Actually, since the second Super Bowl, since they did nothing to help Eli Manning, as Odell said this week. But that's a debate for 5 o'clock with AP. But yeah, so I would say I'll give Gettleman credit for slating that draft. That draft pick in the 5th round was very good, and I'll also give him credit for James Bradbury and Logan Ryan and the Odell trade. But there are a lot of sus moves that regarding the line and everything else. I'll give the credit to Joe Judge.
So just looking at the standings before I move on, Rick leads by 1 point. Rick leads with 111. Travis has 110. Ray has 107. Paul has 101. And Mac leads you by 1 point, Travis, 103 to 102. Last week, Ray tied Walmack with 11 wins last week. So we're getting close. We got a few more weeks left. Everyone picked the Titans, and the Titans wet the bed. So I see this a trend here with the Titans. 1 week they're great, another week they're not. What's going on with that, Travis?
Like I said at the beginning of the season, I believe I said a couple weeks ago, the Titans they have been 9-7 for the past 4 years in a row. And until they win a 10th game, I'm going with the fact that they are going to be 9-7 yet again this year. Because I think there are 8 wins now. So who knows if they get that 10th win, man. This team, they struggle. They struggle at pass rush. They struggle in coverage. So those are 2 bad signs right there. The Browns went out there, they punched them in the mouth and got a big lead on them, and we all know that they are a heavy run team. It's not that they can't pass, but they're to their credit, the Titans are a type of team, no matter what the situation is, they're going to stay true to who they are. They're going to stay true to that run game and then letting Ryan Tannehill try and, pass here and there. So they weren't going to let that giant lead that the Browns got on them take them out of their offensive game plan, which is a credit to them, I guess. But at the same time, we see what their deficiencies are. So I don't know. I'd have to look at their schedule to see what happens with this team because the Colts are still – I'm going to lean towards the Colts to win this division right now, but the Titans are still going to be in the playoffs, and they're still going to be a difficult out.
All right. The other upset we had, the Steelers, or the overrated Steelers, according to Declan, losing to the Washington football
team. You had a big weekend, man. Giants big win.
I really did.
The Bills went out there with.
But is that really something for a team that has 11? It's not though.
We're not. Like, let's be honest. The Steelers played 3 games in 12 days or something.
12 days. Very tough. I'm not going to go celebrate this win.
The Steelers have been. It's crazy how to not have had any COVID outbreaks. The Steelers have been the most affected schedule-wise by COVID.
They've gotten screwed.
Yeah, so it's like
100%.
they're playing all types of these crazy schedules, and it's not even their fault. They're doing everything they're supposed to do, and it's the other teams that are affecting them.
Shout out to Mike Tomlin.
Yeah, I don't understand why everybody's making a big deal. Like no one, I didn't hear anybody saying the Steelers would go undefeated. Of course, they were going to lose. You heard people saying they were going to go undefeated. Well,
heard it all the time. Why do you think this all started? I didn't say this after or just before this game. I said this 3 weeks ago.
All I'm saying is
no, but you were talking about them at that present time, though. You weren't talking about them projecting.
All I'm saying is
forecasting. You were looking at them now.
No, I said at their record when it was 10-0 that they were overrated, not compared to the teams now, but compared to 10-0 teams in the past. Like, that's not a 10-0 football team to me. They don't embody what an undefeated team at that moment was. And I think that showed on Monday night.
But let's not do that. Let's not sit here and make it seem like one loss makes this look like a dramatically different team.
No.
Here.
Hey, you just said I had a big week. So I'm
just saying because I know you've called them overrated, so therefore they finally lost. But I'm just saying here, one, I want to give a shout out to Mike Tomlin. But like we said,
he's a great coach.
They've been affected by that COVID, and he's been able to hold it together. But this team, they are flawed. Okay, we can all admit that they struggle in the run game.
Oh, no one's No one said they were.
The injuries on defense are starting to pile up. They lost Devin Bush early in the season.
Running game's horrible.
Bud Dupree on the other side of that pass rush. So they are a team that's going to struggle. They need to find more balance on that offense if they want. They're still good enough to win because I think we've seen. Yes, I think we're all. I think we can all sit here and say that the Chiefs are probably the best team in the AFC at least.
But even the Chiefs have.
Right, but we know the Chiefs can have their moments where they kind of play down to their competition. They're going to get the W at the end of the day, but they're not going to come out with their best foot forward from the beginning. So you go in there against Pittsburgh with that. Pittsburgh might be able to do something to you. So I think they need to find more balance. I think they're going to get James Conner back off that COVID list. So hopefully that can help with that rushing attack. But I still believe in the Steelers. I think they're still one of the top teams in the AFC and in the NFL. And then when it's all said and done, the Steelers will have an effect on who wins ultimately this year.
Travis, I have a tip for you. Don't pick the Falcons again, man. That really ruined you. That hurt you, brother. that hurt you real bad. It really did, man. I don't know why you did that.
Look, Raheem Morris had them on a nice little run. They had a big win the week before that,
and the Bears too.
They beat the pretending Raiders.
Those two make a difference for you. The Bears.
I tried to tell you about the Lions.
They had the Bears had that game though. They had the game. They had it.
You mean just like the Jets? Like the Jets had their game?
Oh, can I say something about that?
Yeah, let's talk about them Jets, man.
I want to get into that immediately.
A couple weeks ago, you were like, "Hey, always pick the team whose coach got fired a week ago because they're gonna win the."
No, I didn't say that.
He didn't say that.
I didn't say always. I didn't say always pick that.
Well,
so
I went to logic and I got that right. I ain't gonna front. That's the reason why.
Because y'all was saying that this weekend. I was like, "Whoa, I'm not ready to go there with the Lions because I couldn't even name who the coach was at the time." But
and you better know the name now, Travis.
So Declan, what do you have to say about the Jets?
Oh, I got a lot to say about the Jets. I might even want to start on the Raiders side just because Manny's been annoying me all week. Oh
That's
my
just
God!
Manny.
Well, I'm gonna continue.
Engage 8 on Madden. What is this? Like, come on, dude.
Oh my God!
I couldn't believe that. I really couldn't believe that play. Like I watched it.
Listen, from that game, and here's where the misery of being a Jets fan lies, and I feel terrible for some of my realistic Jet fan friends, such as Mike Phillips. No, I don't. I don't at all. You know what? Because why should I feel bad? In 2010 and 2011, they started this whole Rex Ryan, we're taking over the city, and that lasted about 60 minutes. So I don't really care about that one. Anyway, in terms of the actual game, I can't help but laugh. Every time you see a Hail Mary, not even a Hail Mary formation, but you see a team's going to get the ball at the 35-yard line with 18 seconds left and no timeouts, down at least a touchdown, or within 5 to 7 points, you don't think that they're going to get the Hail Mary. You're like, okay, yeah, sure, some drunk idiot screaming at the TV like, they're going to get a Hail Mary, I'm going to win $35. But it's not going to work that way. However, that's not going to work. But when the Jets lined up, even before the zero blitz, couldn't you just feel it? Couldn't you just feel that the Raiders were going to get a Hail Mary? Like the chances of that were probably 3% at best, but you just knew it was going to happen.
Greg
and it's just so funny.
Henry Ruggs over the
top. and Derek Carr, Manny's idol, overthrew Aguilar by 10 yards. He was wide open in the end zone. At that point. They should have had 2.
And you know what?
2 shots at the end zone. That's inexcusable.
You know why Greg Williams called that play, because he's seen the fact that he dropped everybody back, and if Derek Carr would have threw a better pass, it would have been a touchdown. So he's thinking hey, I need to put some pressure on him. I mean, obviously
Carr threw with both feet.
Maybe that wasn't the best idea, but I mean, of course it didn't work, so everybody's criticizing him. But at the end of the day, it's more than Greg Williams that's wrong with the Jets. We all know what the issue is. So
all right. Guys, if you had to give...
Hold on, let me just throw this in there.
Go ahead, Travis.
Like Ray said, if the call worked, we'd be sitting here praising him for it. Greg Williams, he stayed true to who he is. He lives by the blitz, he dies by the blitz, man.
Yeah.
The problem is with Adam Gase right there. Once he heard that call over the radio, I'd have been like, timeout. What? No. You are the head coach. It is your job to sit there and say something at that point, dude.
Can I
But
interject?
you know what? It's
I'm
on
not
schedule.
gonna-
According to the
sit
Jet
here-
fans, they're happy because it's on schedule for them to get Trevor
But
Lawrence.
you know what? You know
And
what's
I'm
so ridiculous?
tired of that. What makes this? What is it?
They haven't
What
shown
makes-
anything.
Right. Why, I don't understand. What makes them think that getting Trevor Lawrence is going to change everything? What in the past 20
It's
plus
not,
years
but it's the
has
move that has
shown
to
that
be
this
made.
organization is capable of
I'm
doing
saying-
something with a top talent like Trevor Lawrence? Like, I
They're
don't
not, but
get
it's
it.
the move. It's the move that has to be made to at least try to change the culture, and it's a no-brainer. Like you're not going to pass on Peyton Manning in '95 if he goes out, just like you're not going to pass on Trevor Lawrence now or Andrew Luck 7 years ago. The thing that I don't understand, and well, maybe I do because it's just ridiculous, but Greg Williams staying true to who he is. You want to know who he is? He's the Bounty Gate defensive coordinator that put bounties on players' heads. He's the guy Steve Smith trashed on national television, saying that other opposing receivers. Let me just reset. Opposing corners of Steve Smith would tackle him hard and say, "Sorry, if I don't do that, Greg Williams is going to find me." He's a Bush League coordinator. But nobody in the league, he's not respected at all. Maybe that's why he can't hold a job for more than 2 years, and he bounces around the city like a journeyman quarterback. He bounces around more than Ryan Fitzpatrick. So that's my take on him. Anyway, do I think he was a problem with the Jets? No. What isn't the problem with the Jets besides maybe Sam Darnold? But this idea that, firing him was going to change everything, no, obviously it's not. They were firing him as a statement. And you know what? I actually think it was the right call because, like I said, he hasn't been able to hold a job for more than 2 years. So I think it's the right call. Adam Gase needs to be fired, obviously, but why even waste time saying that? But like, do they think the tanking? Like, if fans are gonna come out and say they did that on purpose, like, do they think that they're gonna have their jobs next year? Like, why would Adam Gase be tanking? Is what I don't understand.
All right, guys, we're running up on time, but let me ask you your picks for tomorrow's Thursday night game.
Big debate.
We have the Pats versus the Rams. Ray and Trav, who you guys got?
I'm going with the Rams, man. I mean, I'm sorry. Like, the last 2 weeks, I don't know how the Patriots have won games, man. Like, especially last week, 45-0. Like,
Bill Belichick just finds a way. It's so weird. Like, I don't know how they're winning games either. But
yeah, I'm going with the Rams.
Okay.
Like I said, I've said it for weeks. It's very hard for me to pick against the Rams. They're a talented team. They're top 10 in offense and defense, and they have 2 of the top 5 best defensive players in the league.
So you're going Rams. So you're going Rams too.
Yes, it's hard for me to pick against this team. The Patriots somehow
Declan,
have been finding ways, but Rams.
Super Bowl rematch. I have not found it hard to bet against the Rams in recent weeks. However, I'm going to have to go with the Rams in this one. I don't think the Pats are going to move the ball in their defense, and we're going to need to see more out of Cam from the passing game if they want to have a chance in this one.
All right, we got some hot debates coming up. Declan, you and I are both the underdogs here. Apparently,
What?
everyone's going.
No, I'm not. No, I'm not.
That's
Not
what
the
they're saying.
underdog.
No one believes that.
That's not what they're saying.
Eli Manning is a top 5 quarterback.
That's not what they're saying.
Quarterback. That's what the Hitler streets are saying, man. I'm telling you.
You're fake news, my friend. I'm very upset at this Chris Wallace moderating.
Like I told Deck earlier, man. There's more than one way to get a seat at the table. All right, and in my book, Eli Manning has a seat at the Hall of Fame table, so I don't necessarily care whether he was top 5 1 year or not. I just know the man found a way to win 2 Super Bowl rings, so I don't really care.
Hey, Carl, man, I didn't like Greg's little meme about me and my legs. A couple of things.
Yeah. Listen, man, I'm gonna do the best I can. Here comes our moderator, Tom Kenny. He's on schedule for this debate.
Good luck, bro.
It must be TV.
Travis, thanks for the warm up. I appreciate you. I'm ready to go, and we'll see what happens. Let's go, guys.
All right, man. Good luck, man.
Shout out to Ziggy.
Kenny.
I appreciate his comment.
Yeah, TK the Tank, Tom Kenny's in the building for this massive debate between Carl Coulange and Greg Polius as we await my opponent. TK the Tank, how you doing, sir?
I'm great, Carl. How are you? Are you ready?
I was born ready, man. Listen, I'm just here to talk some facts. I'm here to talk some sports. You know how I do as we wait for Greg Polius to pull up. How's everything on your end?
Everything's going great. Just another day in the life, getting ready to do this. Little debate with Alan later,
We also have another debate coming up about the greatest match of all time against Alan Austin from the Alan Austin Show. So please make sure you guys tune in. This is the debate that people have been waiting for. I think Greg is waiting to 4:30 for him to actually pull up. I don't know where he is, but listen, I'm here. I'm ready to go. And
hey, you're ready, Carl? Greg will be here. He's a punctual guy, and
for sure, absolutely. And I think this debate, everyone is waiting on it. They believe I lost already without even hearing my argument. That it's a complete loss for Carl Coulange. So I'm intrigued to see what Greg has up his sleeve, because I know.
Well, Carl, if I know you got your notes, your proper preparation, right? You're ready.
Yeah, and here he is, Mr. Greg Polius, to have this illustrious debate as people roll up into the comments. Thank you for joining us. And he has his...
We gon' dig a Brooklyn, real bad man, they are Brooklyn. Life is Brooklyn.
What up?
How's it going?
The floor is yours.
How are you, Greg?
I'm doing well. Carl, fix your face, bro.
My face is fixed, sir. I'm ready.
Never ready, bro. Never ready.
So we're going to kick it off here. Today, I'm Tom Kenny. Let's just start this from the top here. Tom Kenny here, Sports Hit List. It's great to be here live with the one and only, the professor, Carl Coulange. Carl, how are you?
I'm doing wonderful, TK. Thanks for having me, sir.
Good. Thank you for being here on your own show today. And Mr. Greg Polius, how are you today?
I'm doing well.
I liked your introduction.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
Okay, so today we are talking fans and media pressure in the playoffs in the NBA. What are the effects? How does it affect it, or does it even affect it? I want to start off with you, Greg. I want you to just lay out your base argument here about the NBA and pressure with media.
No problem. Did Carl put you up to put me up first?
No, actually, you should go first because this is your question. So you wanted to have
Sure, no problem.
Well, exactly.
So, for whatever reason, in the NBA, there is this notion that you are somehow less of a player if you don't perform well in the playoffs. But I'm going to give you a couple names and run off a couple numbers for you real quick, TK. We have Larry Fitzgerald, second all-time in yards and receptions, sixth all-time in TDs. Barry Sanders, fourth all-time in yards, 10th all-time in TDs. Tony Gonzalez, sixth all-time in yards. Now, between the three of these Hall of Famers, because that's what they are, okay, they have played a total of 683 total games. However, they have only played in 22 total playoff games. Will you ever hear an NFL fan to fix their mouth and say Barry Sanders, Larry Fitzgerald, or Tony Gonzalez are not one of the greatest players to ever do it? You will never hear that. And then you have, Tony Gwynn and Ken Griffey Jr. on the baseball side. Between them, 5,111 games in the regular season. They played 45 playoff games combined. Will never. Can you imagine somebody coming up to you and saying, "Well, Griffey or Tony Gwynn didn't win a ring"? They're not that good. They don't deserve the credit. And then for you, TK, I got one just for you. My man Dino Cicerelli. All right. Mm-hmm. Dino Cicerelli is a Hall of Famer with over 1,200 points and 600 goals, and played in 141 playoff games out of over 1,200 regular season games in 19 seasons. He played in 11% of 11% of his career spent in the playoff. Technically, that's bad, but you're never going to hear somebody say Dino Cicerelli doesn't deserve the credit. Mm-hmm. You're not going to hear these things, because what in the post-Jordan era, what the media has done and what fans have done, they've placed this emphasis not on so much so the talent and the caliber of the player, but legacy as opposed to talent. Which is why you get Carl saying things like, well, CPO, as he used to put it, is not that great because of his playoff failures, when in actuality, he's a first ballot Hall of Fame point guard. Go on, Carl.
Carl, would you like to respond to that?
So Greg just had his opening statement by talking about a whole bunch of sports, and we're here to talk about the NBA. That's number one. Number two, it's my turn. Shut up. I'm talking. You're not talking. Shut up. I'm talking. When I'm talking, you shut up. Thank you.
Oh, man, if you actually learn how to listen, then you could.
Well, I did listen to you, but you're not letting me speak. I'm not talking now.
You can't even use the context right. You suck.
Let's keep this on the rails, guys. Carl.
Is he done? Can I speak now?
Carl, this is
the floor.
It's a media fallacy. Greg likes to sit here and talk about how the media presents itself and the media has false narratives. But then today he's here to talk about how the media has a set narrative on players. The media will always do whatever it takes to get clickbait in order to get people to watch their programming. So therefore, my stance on this is that the players are the ones who matter the most when it comes to dealing with pressure. They're the ones that matter. The players don't necessarily care about what the media and the fans have to say. And I'm here to prove that today. So the players don't go home to care about what Carl Coulange on the Sports Illustrated had to say, what Stephen A. on ESPN had to say, what Skip Bayless had to say. Point coming period, there are a lot of great players that people talk about that have not had playoff success. You look at guys like Patrick Ewing. You look at guys like Reggie Miller. You look at guys like Allen Iverson. All those guys are top Hall of Fame players in the Hall of Fame. John Stockton, Karl Malone. The list goes on and on and on. You think those players care about what I have to say and what the other media personalities and fans have to say about them in the streets? Absolutely not. And I'm here today to prove that.
So let me ask you, Carl, why is it that Kyrie Irving is doing a media blackout? Why is he doing that? What happened in Boston?
You talk to Kyrie and talk to him and ask him.
No, you're a Boston Celtics fan. What did he say in Boston? What did he say when he was
I know what he said in Boston. But again,
tell the people, Carl, what did he say?
He said, clearly, and I quote, he said, "I will come back if you will have me." That's where his words.
Okay, and what happened
that has
after
nothing to do with players, though. And
what happened after
he did not
that?
live to his up of the bargain.
The question.
I answered your question. And you want to talk about
that?
what Kyrie Irving said when it comes to dealing with pressure?
What
I can answer your question.
Happened after that?
He left. But again, I can answer your question about Kyrie Irving when it comes to pressure, because that's what we're talking about.
So, Carl,
are we not talking about pressure?
What you're trying to do here,
TK, are we talking about pressure? I'm not spinning.
So you're talking about Kyrie Irving, you're talking about pressure. Kyrie Irving hit a huge 3-point shot in the 2016 playoffs. Greg, wouldn't you say that is him playing under pressure? That the media, he knew everyone was watching him. He knew this was a historic moment for Cleveland, yet he still did not cave under the pressure.
So here's the thing, Tom. We're not talking about their play per se. It is the perception and what drives the media. Like Carl said, it's clickbait. Carl kind of helped me here because clickbait is what drives the narrative.
Because we're talking about pressure. Is that not what we're talking? We're not talking about in-game pressure. That's not what we're talking about.
I'm gonna get to the pressure aspect of it, right? The pressure is on the legacy, Tom. Like I said in my opening statement, it's on the legacy, not on the play, right? The everyday play, they're ballers. They want to win. But when it comes to actual legacy, then the post-Jordan era, there's a reason Paul George went to play with Kyrie. There's a reason Anthony Davis wanted to play with LeBron. It's not because
Paul George did not play with Kyrie. Get your facts straight.
Kawhi, you know what I meant, bro.
No, I don't. Stop. Because get your facts straight.
Shut up, bro.
Next. No, you shut up. Get your facts straight. You want to talk about
you know exactly what I meant. Anyway, let me continue cooking. Thought, yeah. Now, this same Kyrie Irving, right? He plays now. He's in Boston, in Brooklyn. He's in Brooklyn, right? He does the media blackout. Why? Because whenever Kyrie speaks, things get misconstrued. I brought up the point in Boston because Carl quoted it correctly, and he was vilified in the media when he left Boston, even though he said, "I will stay if you have me." These are the type of things that the media does, where they drive narrative. We even had a Kyrie quote taken out of context a couple days ago, where he said, he's played next to LeBron, KD. Anybody could hit. He hasn't played with anybody who's hit a shot like that. And then everybody going crazy talking about, this is LeBron slander. And in actuality, what he said was factual. The media plays a role in these players wanting to build their legacy, because now if you don't win, what happens, right? LeBron is 2-4 in the finals. He's won 2 rings. But what happens? He's not great because he's 2-4. You hear that all the time. Okay.
What does that have to do with pressure? We're here to talk about pressure.
Are you serious?
No, we're not talking about.
Is that a serious question?
It is a serious question. TK, what does that have to do with pressure?
Carl,
we're not talking about winning rings. That's the question. We're talking about pressure. The question was about pressure.
Winning a championship is pressure, Carl.
But that has nothing to do with the play.
Chris Paul for years for quote-unquote playoff failure.
We're talking about pressure.
You called James Harden a bum.
We're talking about pressure. And you know what James Harden had to say about? Does James Harden care what I have to say?
James Harden a bum.
But does James Harden care what I have to say? At the end of the day, it matters about the players and what they care for.
No, does James Harden care what you have to say?
It does. Does he care?
Are you not a fan?
Yes or no? Yes or no? Does he care what I have to say? Does he care what I have to say?
Are you not a fan?
Answer my question. Does he care what I have to say as a fan and a media personality? Does he care? You wouldn't know that because you don't talk to athletes. So how would you know that?
No.
You don't talk to athletes. All right, then.
Why does James Harden want out of Houston?
But again,
why does he want out of Houston?
Because of the fans? He wants out because of the fans, or does he want to win? Because of the fans or no? Because of the fans.
What has James Harden
Answer the question. Do they care about the fans? You're not answering my question.
Because of fans and media.
No,
because
it's not.
Of the perception around
Greg. So just to Carl's question, does James Harden care what Carl Kalanch says about him?
No, he doesn't care what Carl thinks because nobody cares what Carl thinks. Personally.
That just proved my point. Does he care about the media?
However, he cares what the media thinks. Otherwise, he wouldn't be asking out of Houston.
No, that's not why he's asking out of Houston.
What do you think about that?
No, that's not why he's asking out of Houston. He's asking out of Houston because they haven't. They got a new coach. They're not surrounding him with the players that he needs to win. And again, going back to Kyrie Irving. But again, I'm going to go back to what I said. I have a quote here from Kyrie Irving. He said, when it comes to dealing with pressure, and we're talking about pressure, right? Because that was the question that Greg asked. Because Greg didn't talk about what media people say and all these other things.
Talk about what media people say?
You said the question. What was your question, Greg? Tell me what the question was. Was the question not talking about pressure? I'm not playing semantics. I'm answering your question.
You are.
Okay, no, I'm not, because I'm answering your question. Kyrie Irving, when asked when it comes to dealing with pressure, he says, it's just fun, man. That's all. It's pretty simple. They don't really see it as a pressure situation. It's just fun basketball. It's like me being in the park and there's 7-7 and the game is to 8-0 and someone calls a win by 2. I don't want to say that this is like playing the NBA, but to me, it's that kind of thing that sees as fun as playing basketball. So that's what we're talking about when it comes to dealing with pressure.
Did I not say the pressure is not on the individual play, but on the legacy? I did say that, right?
From who, though?
That was my opening statements. That's what I said. Because Carl can't listen.
No, I do listen, but you can't answer the question because when we're talking about pressure, though, that's my issue, is that you wanted to come here and talk about pressure. I'm speaking about pressure.
No, you're not.
Yes, I am.
No, you're not.
Okay.
This is why you suck at debating.
No, this is why you suck at debating, because you're not listening.
You wiggle around the direct question.
I'm not wriggling around the question.
What are we arguing here, Boss? Are we arguing off the court pressure or on the court pressure? Greg, can you clarify this?
It's both. It's both. But the majority,
if you're feeling pressure from the media about your overall career, if you're saying the media didn't give Griffey that much pressure for never winning a ring. That's
you will never hear fans talk bad about the players I mentioned.
He's talking about the fans, but here's what he has to understand.
If there is a player the media is talking bad about, Greg, does that put pressure on them when they're
trying to? No, because they don't care.
Absolutely.
They don't care.
James Harden has accomplished everything he possibly can in the NBA with the exception of winning an NBA championship. Why does he want to force his way to Brooklyn? What does that give him the best opportunity to do? Cement his legacy. That is based on, because what happens, this person on the other side of the screen right here is the same person 3 years ago that argued with me that James Harden is a bum because of playoff failures. And he has the audacity, the gall to sit here and talk about who is Carl, what does he care about Carl, when he was arguing that the same playoff failures is what taints his legacy? Come on, what are we doing here?
Okay. So, Carl, knowing that, now you said that you're talking about pressure on the court, but in terms of pressure of legacy, what would you say about, the media, the players not caring, like players that go to places to play for money, like go to play for the Knicks knowing they're not going to win? Can you give us some examples of that, Carl?
So here's my thing when it comes to players caring about pressure. They don't care necessarily what we have to say. They don't care about the Skip Bayless. They don't care about the fans. Because if you talk to players and you interview players, Greg doesn't have experience in talking to high professional players. You would know that if you spoke to them. I have. And when I talk to players, they will sit here and tell you. And again, I'm not spinning the narrative. Let me speak. Because again, this is what we're talking about, pressure. Regardless of what I have to say, regardless of what anyone has to say, when you talk to the players and he wants to talk about James Harden, the reason why James Harden wants out of Houston is because he has pressure from the fans. Wrong. When you ask James Harden when it comes to pressure and dealing with winning, this is what he said, and I quote, pressure is when you're not prepared. When you're not prepared, it's no pressure. Just go out there, execute, and do what you know how to do. I'm going to continue here when it talks to James Harden. He also said, while Harden's efforts long story short, James Harden says the pressure is on himself. They're two-way street here when it comes to pressure. It's pressure dealing on yourself when you can put too much pressure on yourself or having no pressure at all. And I have countless examples of that. So therefore, to wrap up, what I have to say is this again, regardless what the media has to say, regardless what the fans have to say, the players know their own legacies. They know their own legacies. They own their own legacy. So what we have to say doesn't matter to them because, again, there are 3 reasons why you play sports. To answer your question, Tom Kenny, you play for passion, you play for money, and you play to win.
Okay.
Carl.
Well summed up. Greg, would you like to reply to that?
Yeah, Carl. You spoke a lot and said nothing. Like that's one of your greatest talents.
Sure, but you keep deflecting what I just said, and I just gave you all the facts. No, because you're deflecting what I said.
I'm not.
I just gave you personal. Let me ask you a question. I'm going to ask you a question. Can you tell a player what's pressure or not? I'm going to ask you a question. Can you tell a player what's pressure and what's not? Yes or no?
Carl, who votes?
Yeah, that's not answering my question. Can you tell a player what's pressure or what's not?
I let you finish.
Greg, give your thoughts about that, and then maybe at the end, if you'd like to answer that question.
So, who ranks players based on their legacy? The media, correct? So, TK, I'm asking you.
Oh yeah, no, I would agree. The media, yes.
The media. So how can this supposed media man here then go out and say that the players don't care what the media think? They only put the pressure on themselves. What kind of cockamamie?
Now let me ask him another question. Okay, it's a bullshit. Who votes them into the Hall of Fame? The media?
Yes.
No, they don't. Get your facts straight. They don't. Jerry Colangelo is the head of the Association for Hall of Famers. That's wrong. Who votes NBA champions? Who wins their NBA championships? Is that the media or the fans?
Yo,
the players.
You talk about me.
But I'm telling you, but you're not. Again, you're not listening. You're not listening to my point. Hall of Fame is another part of the game. Is that voted by fans or the media? No. Do the fans have any votes? No. The fans don't vote on anything. So what the hell are you talking about?
So it's funny that you keep saying the fans don't vote on anything, but you're not talking about the media aspect, which is what I'm talking about. The media,
which is what the media aspect.
And
again, it was twofold.
And the fans regurgitate what the media
was
says.
Twofold. The question
was twofold. It was for fans and media. So we basically knocked out the fan perspective. And now when you go back to the media,
didn't, because
yes, you did. Because when you're looking at the player's legacy,
follow the media
what is the player's
narrative.
legacy?
I explained that to you in a Kyrie point.
TK, let me ask you a question. Or Greg, let me ask you a question. What is the player's legacy? Tell me.
What is a player's legacy?
Yes.
It's based on his accolades.
Okay.
And if he wins a championship,
we don't deal with ifs. Go ahead.
Shut up with your stupid ifs.
No, it's not. We don't deal with ifs. Answer my question.
It can only enhance his legacy. It does not diminish it if he loses.
So a player's legacy is basically built off their accomplishments, correct?
Yes.
Regardless. And the player can still get into the Hall of Fame without having a playoff success, correct? And that's defining their legacy. So that's defining their legacy. And that has absolutely nothing to do with the media. The media doesn't play the basketball. It does not, because the media doesn't play the games.
In the post-Jordan era, why is there always a but when a player doesn't have playoff success? Every single player that has some type of fault in the playoffs, there's always a but. James Harden, Chris Paul, who else can we talk about? Throw names out there. Every time we bring up a player that has the resume and everything needed to be that great player, that should be a first ballot Hall of Famer, but if they have that slight in the playoffs, but he don't have a ring. That's fans and media.
But again, you're not listening to my point. The fan, when it comes down to pressure, the players don't care. And I keep telling you that, and you keep going back to the original point. They don't care. You have to care about pressure for it to be a factor on you. If you don't care about you have to care for it. You have, as a player, Greg, you've been the player yourself, so you would know what it's like to play at a high level.
The difference is I wasn't out there trying to cement a professional legacy.
The players don't care. The players don't care. I have a quote here where it says they don't deal with pressure. So you're basically telling me
you're taking it and you're trying to twist what I'm saying.
I'm not twisting what you're saying.
Your pressure narrative.
But again, it's not my pressure narrative if that was the question. How is it my pressure narrative if that was the question?
Because you're saying that the players don't have pressure.
Was that not the question?
I gave you several examples.
And I gave you examples. I just sat here and gave examples. And I have more examples too.
But why did LeBron go to Miami? Why did LeBron go to Miami? Why did LeBron go to Miami?
LeBron went to Miami and he teamed up with his friends at the Olympics prior to him in Cleveland that they were going to team up and play with each other. Did he not?
Why did LeBron go to Miami?
Again, did he not?
What did he say?
And LeBron put pressure on him. On who? On himself. He did not. The media had nothing to do with him saying it. The fans had nothing to do with him saying it. Him and his buddies decided back in the Olympics that they were going to play with each other. And then when they went to Miami, he put pressure on himself. On himself when he said not 6, not 7, not 8, not 9. Who's that pressure on? Yourself. And again, if you want to talk about pressure when it comes to LeBron has stated himself, the whole pressure thing, like I said, is a two-way street. It's either you put pressure on yourself or there's no pressure at all. And I've said that before because that goes back to the original question. Why did AD force a trade to LA? Say that again? I'm sorry?
Why did AD force a trade to LA?
Because he wanted to win, not because the media told him to. It had nothing to do with the media or the fans. But what you're telling me, and again,
there's a whole narrative out there.
It's a whole narrative that the players don't care about. You're not listening. You're not listening to me. The players don't care about it.
Because you're talking a bunch of shit.
No, it's not snipe. I'm going to read a quote right here. LeBron said, and I quote, I don't really get involved in the whole pressure thing. James said, I think it exceeds expectations in my life as a professional. I am a statistic that was supposed to go the other way. Growing up in the inner city, I had a single parent household. It was just me and my mother. So everything was done and had to be success. So as far as the game of basketball, I just go out and play and have fun and love and be true to the game and to my teammates and live with the results. So I don't. That doesn't get to me much. That was the question.
Be kidding.
No, I'm not kidding
the
you
fact
because
that
that was the question. You're not listening.
LeBron is again, you're talking a bunch of bullshit, bro.
I'm not talking bullshit. I answered your question.
LeBron is the most scrutinized player
you talked about pressure.
Entire NBA in the last 30
can you
years.
Check him?
And you're trying to use a quote about him talking about pressure like the media and the fans do not chastise.
They don't care. They don't care. Do not.
His
you
legacy.
Want me to talk Creole with you for you to understand? They don't care. You wouldn't know that because you don't talk to athletes. So stay in your lane.
You think that's a trump card, bro?
No, it's not a trump card. It's the truth.
You're trying to use it as that.
Because you don't talk to athletes. I've interviewed NBA players. I've interviewed coaches. The list goes on and on for the last 12 years because you love to use your card as a professional. And I'm going to use my card as a professional. And when I talk to them about pressure, they don't care about what the media and the fans have to say because they play the game. That's what it comes down to. And that's
you know how I know you're full of shit? Because you are the media and you are supremely
I'm not full of shit. I'm not full of shit because I'm answering your question and you can't seem to handle it. I'm answering your question.
I'm answering your question.
I'm answering your question and you're not listening. That's the problem.
So Carl has used quotes and a lot of things the athletes have said. Greg, are you aiming more towards less of what they say and more towards the places they go as a basis for your argument here?
He keeps focusing on what they say instead of the actions. He hasn't.
What actions?
We're
talking about the players, and you're talking about the media.
I'm gonna let you respond to this. I just want Greg to talk about the action first, and then see what you say next, Carl. 1 sec.
So we have, which I would say, in the post-Jordan era, you had KG, and the whole Boston, Ray Allen, that thing. They started that. LeBron went to Miami to win. Yes, he went with his friends, but he went to win, right? Because of that legacy pressure.
Hold on a second. For the fans.
All right. The media paints the narrative. The fans regurgitate the narrative, just like with Kyrie and with James Harden. The media paints the narrative that James Harden can't perform in the playoffs. He has bad games. What happens? Oh, James Harden is a choke artist. Carl even subscribed to that. As a fan, he subscribed to that notion. And then you have Kyrie Irving is the quintessential most and I'm not even a Kyrie fan, but everything Kyrie says is scrutinized, which is why he's now doing a media blackout. I'm talking about things that players are actively doing, not their quotes that they hide behind in the media. Okay, I'm talking about what they actually want to do in order to cement their legacies.
So what makes the players of today, Greg, different from the players of 30 years ago in the 90s when players wouldn't move around as much, when players would still have to face the media and still hear from the fans? They still heard from people in the stadiums. If they weren't winning, they still heard all these things and still had people doubting their legacy, but they didn't move around as much. They kind of stayed with one team. What makes today's era different than then?
I'll tell you, it's two things, Tom, and thank you for the question. It's the social media aspect. That's one, because everything is instantaneous. And it's disseminated, like in seconds. So you have say Fox Sports puts out a poll and it has LeBron as the third rated small forward of all time, right? That generates hundreds, thousands, millions of clicks immediately from both sides of the debate. Right? Because now they're pushing the narrative that, hey, he's not the best all time. There are other people better than him. It gets people talking, like the clickbait Carl spoke about. He's making media points for me without even realizing. And the other point is the scrutiny before Jordan, because nobody really won in the manner that he did. There wasn't there. So you had like a Jerry West who was 1-8 in the finals. You know what I'm saying? Even to go more current in the 90s. Reggie Miller, Patrick Ewing, Charles Barkley, Karl Malone, John Stockton. These were all great players, but they were never looked down upon because they didn't win. They ran into a dynasty in the Bulls. That's what happened. And nobody ever says like they're less of a player because they didn't win. It's only this modern era now where you have the post-Jordan fans and media pushing narratives that legacy matters more than talent and accolades.
Okay, so Carl, you're a media man. You teach media. You're involved in all of this social media. How has that changed? Would you say that social media is adding pressure? Do you agree with Greg on this, or do you find more disagreement here?
Again, I disagree because as I'm talking from the athlete perspective, that's what matters is the athlete themselves. And I think Greg is ignoring that factor because, and I'll say it one more time for those who are not listening, the player plays. They're the ones who are playing the basketball games. They're the ones who are there. They're the ones who are in the locker room. They're the ones who have to deal with that. So when you're talking from the player perspective, which is what we're talking about, of course, media is going to drive narratives because that's what they have to do because they have to sell advertising. And Greg would know that. So they're going to do whatever they can in their power. Am I at fault for doing that? Absolutely. Is that to Greg's point? No, because in a sense, you have to do your job. So as a media person, you're going to do your job to do whatever it takes for you to get people to watch your product. That's what you have to do. But does that mean that the players actually care what we have to say? No. How many times have you seen Skip Bayless get into arguments with athletes over them talking about they don't know what the hell they're talking about? How many times has Charles Barkley and LeBron James gotten into arguments because Charles Barkley said something out of his mouth and LeBron had to check him about it? The athletes play the play for a reason. They play because they care. And I use my quotes as an emphasis because it goes back to Greg's question. He wasn't talking about media narrative. He wasn't talking about what fans and players had to say. He was basically, he was basically talking about pressure. That was the question. Wow. That was the question that was asked here today, is talking about pressure, which is what I did my research on. So if Greg wants to have a conversation about legacy and about players,
really sit here and lie?
I'm not lying because that was the question.
Bro,
again, Greg sat here and I'm not finished. I'm speaking. When I'm speaking, you shut up. Again, I'm speaking. You're not listening.
Lying to the people.
No, I'm not lying right now because I'm speaking. Again, Greg sat here and Greg sat here and he's talked about legacies and players. Again, I just gave him an example. The Hall of Fame is not voted by the media. The Hall of Fame has a Hall of Fame committee that's voted by executives who are in the Hall of Fame that tells you if a player gets in or if a player doesn't. They don't care about what the fans have to say. The fans are here for a purpose. Yes, social media has given fans a voice, but guess what? Social media is also giving a lot of different things that are on the negative. At the end of the day, the fans are there to fill in the seats. Yes, the fans are going to have a voice, but they don't give a shit about what the players have to say because they're playing the game for themselves. How can you sit here? And again, TK, how can we sit here and say LeBron cares about what the media has to say about his legacy? But meanwhile, he decided that he was going to team up with his best friends years prior. The deal was on the table when they were going to their rookie contracts. Dwayne Wade, Carmelo Anthony, and LeBron James made a pact that they were going to play with each other, regardless of where they were. Carmelo broke that. That had nothing to do with championships at the time. They knew that they wanted to play with each other years in advance.
You think they wanted to play together to be friends? They
said it themselves. What are you talking about? This is what I'm talking about when you don't listen to people when they speak. So you're basically telling me that all the players over there, they're lying. And again, this goes back to your experience about by you sitting here and telling players that they're liars, they can never trust you as a media person to even talk to them.
No, you're a liar.
No, you're a liar. No, you're a liar.
We don't have to call each other liars. I don't think
he's a liar. Because I specifically spoke on media narratives, and they're telling me that's not.
Okay, but that wasn't. But TK, what was the question? Was the question about media narratives or no? That wasn't the question.
Can we move it a little bit towards Carl's way here and talk about the pressure they feel on the court? And talk about media. Greg, you're an athlete. You felt pressure. You felt that pressure. Could you imagine them caring about pressure, or do you think more like what Carl's saying? Do they leave that pressure behind? Can you agree with Carl on that point?
Maybe Carl doesn't feel the pressure because Carl couldn't even make the cut on his CYO team in middle school.
Well, it's not about Carl.
Greg wouldn't know Carl is because he never played at the professional level at the top dog or played in the major league.
I could post the professional.
I've been a professional in my field, but Greg wouldn't know what pressure deals like. So how would he know? He wouldn't know what that's like. He wouldn't know what that's like.
I'm sure Greg is still some pressure, Carl. I'm sure Greg is still some pressure. Greg, but
Carl tight. You
mad, bro. It's cool, bro. It's cool.
So here's what Carl is forgetting, right? Being that he has these media blinders on, he's forgetting the psychological aspect of things and how the media operates. You say things long enough, people start to believe into them and buy into narratives. This is why players move the way they do currently. So let me ask you a question.
I actually have a rebuttal for that.
Okay.
Have you used the term black on black crime?
I have a rebuttal
to get into my history bag. What?
I'm sorry?
All right. So, Greg, what did you say? I'm sorry, I missed that.
I'm not here to talk politics.
Have you or people you know black use the term black on black crime?
Hold on. Before we go there, I mean, are you keeping this for sports, Greg?
Yeah. Tom, let me rock.
Go for it.
Look at him. He's using but now he's shifting the conversation to try. He's using
again, Carl,
to try to make a point.
So you don't know how to draw context.
You do suck at this because you're not answering the question.
Black on black crime before.
I have heard it.
Okay. No. Not have you heard it? Have you used it?
No.
You've never used it once in your life.
Nope.
but you've heard it.
I have heard it. I've never used it. No.
Fair enough. Now, are you aware of where that term derived from?
No, you tell me since you're the history teacher, Greg. Since you're turning this
All right,
into
cool,
history
good.
lesson.
Now you're gonna sit and learn. Thank you. I appreciate you.
It
derived from trying to make black people seem like less human, more savage. So they use the term black on black crime in the media to draw up a narrative of black people are inherently violent. Okay, that was in the 50s and 60s during the civil rights era, and you had that. Right. And now, even in today's world, in 2020, in the 21st century, you have black people who are still using this term and cannot separate the difference between a movement like BLM that's for, police accountability and black on black crime. But you've never heard anyone in the media use the term white on white crime. You've never heard anyone in the media say brown on brown crime. That's because narratives are driven through the media. Psychological things happen when you are told enough times, this is what means the most to you. And that's what happens in the NBA. Okay. That's why it doesn't happen in any other sport.
That's fine.
That's what happens in other sports. They don't harp on legacy and championship. They harp on the talent and the accolades. That's why Larry Fitzgerald, Barry Sanders, Ken Griffey, Tony Gwynn, and Dino Cicerelli are not spoken about in poor lights because of minimal playoff success.
So you've spoken to, okay, so here's my defense to that, and Greg says that it gets in their minds. Have you spoken to the NBA players and they told you that? Do you have a first-hand account of a first source? Do you know what a first source is to know?
I'm sorry, what?
Do you know what a first source is? Have
you mean a primary source?
A first source, a primary source, first source, second source, or third source. Have you spoken to NBA players and they told you that?
I have not spoken directly to an NBA players, but I do know.
You don't have that experience. Okay, so you don't. So you don't know. So what you're saying is based off assumption. So you have not spoken to an NBA player.
No, it's not based off assumption.
It is. Answer my question. But again, have you spoken to an NBA player?
How can you say it's based off assumption when I've given you countless things players have done contrary to everything?
But what have they said? But again, they want to win. It's not because of the media or the fans. Do they not want to win? So you're basically telling me because they have pressure from the media and the fans is why they join super teams and why they want to win.
You just told me Anthony Davis didn't want to cement his legacy. He wanted to win, not because he wasn't
pressured by the fans. No, he wasn't pressured by the fans.
Even though there are countless articles talking about.
And I have countless articles that counters your point where the players specifically tell you that they want to win and they don't care about the pressure, but you're basically telling me that they're lying. And those are personal testimonies.
Go ahead.
Kevin Durant going to Golden State. A lot of people said those weren't his championships, and maybe that's why he left to go to New Jersey. But those championships would have helped his legacy. What would you say to that situation?
Kevin Durant said that? TK?
Wait, no, I'm not saying he said that. I'm saying people said that about Kevin Durant.
But Kevin Durant didn't say that, though, right? Kevin Durant didn't say those words.
TK, what did you say?
I'm asking if the narrative that Kevin Durant did not, those weren't his championships. That was the narrative.
So TK, I'm going to ask you
why he left to go.
But again, those came from other, but not Kevin Durant.
Oh, you mean himself. Like the media? Cool.
I'm saying the media. So Carl, actually, let me phrase the question just more to you, Carl. So the media said that Kevin Durant, those championships in Golden State weren't really his because that was Steph Curry's team. Would you say that influenced his move to go to Brooklyn rather than stay with that team?
Did Kevin Durant say those words? Kevin Durant did not say those words. Those were not his words. I did not say that influenced him. Maybe he wanted to go in a different direction. It's the same thing with Kawhi Leonard, right? It's the same thing. Kawhi Leonard had won a championship in Toronto and he decided to move on.
Why did he move on?
Why do you tell me? Because he needed, but because again, there's no pressure on him over there. So he wanted to have another team to have pressure. Is that what you're saying that the narrative was?
The narrative is they have to, because right now, Kawhi Leonard is middling in terms of legacy.
So he had to cement. So wait a minute. You're telling me the narrative was he had to go to a new team to cement his legacy after he had already won two? That's a false narrative because that narrative never even existed.
That's not true. That's not true.
Why?
Because when he was never the man in Toronto on a championship team in San Antonio.
And what about Toronto?
When he was traded to Toronto, he was traded to a well-oiled machine that was one of the best teams in the East already.
So you're making up your own narrative so in order for Kawhi Leonard to be successful, he had to go to a third team to prove that he can lead a team to a championship after he did it in 2019. Is that what you're basically saying right now? Listen to yourself. Again, and this goes back to what I'm talking about as a fallacy. So Kawhi Leonard won a championship and an MVP on one team, so he's going to leave that team to go to another team to prove that he could still do it. How the hell does that make any sense?
Your problem is that you are media, so you believe everything at face value instead of watching.
No, it's not face value because I watched.
Absolutely.
But again, listen to what you just said. Kawhi Leonard won it. Listen,
So why did
won a
Kawhi Leonard go to LA, and why did Kawhi Leonard recruit Paul George to go to LA?
Because he wanted to go home. That's why he went. But you wouldn't know that because you don't read. Reading is fundamental because he wanted to go home and play at home. He didn't want to win a chip. And again, he just basically said, listen to what Greg just said. He said that NBA players want to build their legacies because they want to win championships, and that defines their legacies, right? Kawhi Leonard already won a championship in San Antonio. So he goes to another team and he wins another championship and the finals MVP. What else did he have to accomplish? He wanted to go play home.
Are you serious?
He wanted to go play home. I'm dead serious. He wanted to go play home.
So why did he recruit Paul George? Why?
He wanted to go play home. That's why. He wanted to go
You're
play
not answering the question. Why did he recruit Paul George?
He wanted to have another player to play with. He didn't need to cement anything with his legacy. His legacy was already cemented. He was a two-time finals MVP and a two-time player. Two-time
You are
NBA
so
champion.
full of shit. It's immensely impossible to understand.
TK, how am I full of shit when I just basically made this argument for him? That makes no sense. You won 2 championships already. You got traded to one team and you led them to a finals and you won a championship. But then now you want to go to a third team to win the championship.
So, you're the media. You're a media man, so you've done things. I've done things with you at the college where we film certain games for the performers on the court, the sports, the athletes, and that, Suffolk Sharks basketball, stuff of that nature. Do you feel that the pressure increases when we're there, or do you think, like, you've talked to a lot of these athletes, you've talked to NBA athletes, like, what are some things that they've said to you?
And I'm telling you from personal testimonies from interviewing them. And TK, I'm glad you asked that question because I spent my life and career interviewing players and coaches. And when we talk to them about pressure, they say the pressure's within themselves. I'm not going to sit here and regurgitate something that's not true. It's actually factual. When we interviewed those players on the court, they interviewed themselves. I've interviewed John Starks. I've interviewed Mike Breen. I've interviewed Danny Green. I've interviewed a lot of players. And when you talk to them about pressure, the pressure, sometimes they even tell you they put pressure among themselves. They put too much pressure on themselves. They never mention anything about the media. They never mention anything about the fans.
You are the media. Why would they mention it to you?
So, Greg, if they're not mentioning things to the media, where do you get the information that you're getting?
Their actions, bro. Their actions and how the media operates when they rank these players' legacies.
So you're looking at the moves they've made and where they've been based upon what the media is saying about them.
So the media told them that they needed to win. But basically, it's the media telling them that, all that. The media telling them that. And here's to another point. Let me use this example. Reggie Miller had an example, and then we're gonna let Greg respond. Listen, Reggie Miller had an opportunity to go join the Boston Celtics in 2008 to win an NBA championship. Why didn't he join it? That would have cemented his legacy. Why didn't he do it?
Because Reggie Miller was from the old school way of doing things. That's why that 90s nostalgic, I'm going to play on one team. That's my legacy. I'm a rider. Damian Lillard. Vince Carter had another opportunity. I'm not finished yet. Hold on. Vince Carter had another opportunity. Lillard is from that same school of thought, and his legacy is already getting knocked for playoff failure. Vince Carter also had the opportunity to do the same thing and to cement his legacy by joining a championship team in ring chase. Why didn't he do it? Are you talking about old Vince where nobody cares where he plays? That's not answering my question, though. I need to know. I need to know to answer your question. You notice how Greg moved the goalpost, right? He's not sticking to the question when we're talking about pressure in the playoffs. So I'm answering his question. I asked you a question about Vince Carter. As per usual, Carl doesn't care about context because no, it is context. You're telling me about Vince Carter in the middle of his prime not doing that. But if you're talking about Vince Carter that's sitting at the 12th man on the bench in his 18th year, it doesn't matter. In the middle of his prime, but he's not a significant piece. But he didn't, though. In the middle of his prime, he didn't, though. He was with New Jersey, and then he went over to Orlando, but he didn't. But go ahead. So would you say that some players are just different than Greg? Some players, things mean more to them. The media doesn't get to some players. Absolutely, because they want that legacy cemented to be amongst the greats. They have the accolades. They have the stature. And I love it how people are basically talking in the comments. And again, they're not listening to the players talk. So basically you're saying that, and this is how you don't build trust with your players when you interview players. All the people who are talking don't have experience talking to basketball players and understanding what they're saying. That's cool. You could lie for the players all you want. I'm not lying for the players. I'm not lying. I'm being transparent. Who you interview, of course, what they said to you. Of course, you don't. Because you don't care what the players are saying. Because you're not paying attention. You're taking what they're saying as face value. I got it. I understand. I understand. No, you sat here and said Anthony Davis wanted to go to LA, forced to trade to LA because he wanted to win, not to cement his legacy. Yes, he wanted to win. That's the goal of playing basketball is to win, my guy. What are we talking about? So now let me ask you a question. So again, when you talk about pressure means that you're coerced. So the media coerced him into going to LA. That's basically what you're saying. Legacy matters in today's NBA. The legacy matters, and his legacy is cemented. Again, Chris Paul's legacy is cemented. But what is he doing now?
Again, perfect example.
Wait.
Let's talk about Chris Paul, right? What is Chris Paul doing right now?
No, that's a very vast shift than what you held.
But again, answer my question. Answer my question. What is Chris Paul doing right now? Since Chris Paul is on the Phoenix Suns. So are they a championship team? Is that not cementing his legacy? Why didn't he go play for LA or demanded a trade? He got
traded.
But why didn't he demand a trade to the Lakers? Because that's what Anthony Davis did.
Again, Chris Paul would have went on the Lakers with Kobe.
What? Are you tripping up? But again, Chris Paul just went from.
No, I'm not tripping up.
No, because Chris Paul went from. Okay, see, I'm answering your question. You said that players of today want to cement their legacies by winning and winning championships and playoffs. Chris Paul is now on two teams that are not championship contender teams. Why is he over there?
And let me ask you a question. What do you hold against Chris Paul?
Why is he over
fan? There? What do you hold against Chris Paul as a fan?
I don't hold anything against Chris Paul. Leave. Go ahead. I haven't talked about Chris Paul in years. He can leave all you want to. And it doesn't matter what I have to say about Chris Paul. Again, it doesn't matter what I have to say.
You're really going to sit here and say you
what
don't
do I have to say
against Chris Paul?
Does Chris Paul care what I have to say? No.
Yo.
He doesn't. No. He doesn't.
Yo. So Carl, when you interview players, you don't think that they care what you have to say about them when your piece airs? They don't have interest in, hey, how do I look in this guy's eyes? How do I make
TK, you know what I'm going to do after this? I'm going to pull all the screenshots from when because Carl said he feels no way about Chris Paul.
Years ago, not now.
Not as of now. I'm going to pull stuff from a conversation we had last week.
He tried to deflect it.
I'm going to pull it from a conversation we had last week.
This is what he said.
Talking about his lack of playoff success.
But listen to what he said, though. Listen, TK. He specifically said that players of today care about what the narrative is about building their legacies. Why is Chris Paul on the Suns?
So here's the thing, right? Carl likes to place a blanket on everything, right?
It's not a blanket. I answered your question. Why is Chris Paul on the Suns? Answer my question.
Chris Paul's on the Suns because he got traded there, period.
But why didn't he force his trade somewhere else to be on a winning championship team?
Chris Paul tried forcing the trade somewhere. It didn't work out. He's over that. He's old. He's trying to help players build their careers, right?
That's why he's with Devin Booker and TK, he needs a ring to cement his legacy.
Chris Paul doesn't have a ring. What do you say about that? You don't think he thinks he needs it, Greg?
Who, me?
What do you think about Chris Paul not having a ring? You think that is, if you look at his career, have you seen moves where it is shown that he's trying to get a ring? Not even his most recent, but any moves?
No.
So maybe it just doesn't matter to Chris Paul as much?
Yeah, exactly. But when you have, like, Chris Paul isn't on the level of a James Harden, of an Anthony Davis. Maybe at one point in his career he was, and that's when the trade got vetoed, when he was the MVP candidate in 2008, right? But, you know, he is of the caliber that he's a top 5, arguably top 6 point guard of all time. His legacy is cemented. But Carl, even
his legacy now is, but again, two comments ago, he said that their legacies needed to be cemented by winning in the playoffs.
I said it enhances legacy. This is how I know he doesn't listen.
But again, now Chris Paul doesn't need it to win his legacy.
I said it enhances it. Rings don't define legacies, they enhance them. But Chris Paul has done so much in his career in terms of accolades that he's already, and stats, that he's already a top 5, top 6 point guard of all time. But you have this liar in chief over here talking about how he doesn't feel no way about Chris Paul, when 2 weeks ago he was in the chat talking about how Chris Paul fits.
Doesn't matter what Chris Paul. Doesn't matter what I think about Chris Paul, because Chris Paul doesn't care what I think.
You're so full of shit, bro. You gotta.
Does Chris Paul care what I think?
Carl,
no, he doesn't.
So I mean, you have to admit though that the media's narrative about LeBron and his rings and all of the top echelon NBA stars, Kevin Durant, Anthony Davis. Compared to a guy like Chris Paul, who has had a great career, you don't hear people talking about Chris Paul not having rings as much as you talk about the top 3 echelon players. Do you think that pressure gets to them and forces them to make those kind of decisions?
No, I think go to certain places. The pressure is among themselves to be successful and to be great. LeBron even said it himself. He had pressure because he kept comparing himself to Michael Jordan, and he said once he stopped doing that, it took the pressure off. That's the real pressure, is when you start comparing yourself to the greats. He started comparing himself to the greats.
But the media,
that's what the media does, though. The media does that. They compare them to the great. They don't compare themselves. The media is the one who makes the comparisons.
I was going to say, Carl, do you think the media's comparison of them, because they do compare LeBron and Michael Jordan, look at the group score, we've had countless arguments.
It's all on what you give into the media. You want to allow the media to dictate what you do, that's totally up to you as a player. But the media doesn't dictate the moves and the decisions that you make as a player and as a person. The media doesn't do that. The media doesn't coerce you to do. The media doesn't tell you, you know what, I'm going to go join up and play basketball at a different state and move my entire family to go play there. The media doesn't do that. You make the decision among yourselves. And again, this is from pure testimonies and dealing with. And when we're talking about pressure is Game 7 on the line, and you have to hit a 3-pointer to win a game. That's what pressure is. Pressure is when Doc Rivers tells his players that he's going to stash money in the locker room, and he tells them that the only way they can get that money is if they come back and play to get that. That's what pressure is. That's not to Greg to sit here and say that the media and the fans sit here and they put pressure, which again, we deflect the fans because they don't give a shit about what the fans have to say. They don't give to them. They don't care about what we have to say. But to sit there and think that every single thing that the media says, they're going to harp on every single thing that they say is a false narrative.
So why Jalen Rose call out Skip Bayless about how many points he averaged in high school?
Why did he do that? Because he was retorting back to Jalen Rose talking about players. What do you mean?
No. He was retorting to Skip Bayless talking about players.
You're right. He was. Okay. Skip Bayless.
Okay, so that is a player caring about what a media personality is saying. TK, we got a question in the comments for you. Two things. First thing is, Carl, based on this whole conversation, is the type of dude that'll go to a used car salesman in 2020 and have that used car salesman sell him a Pinto, because clearly he believes anything.
No, it's not. It's not because again,
Carl Ricardo asked if he wants Carl to go on record. He wants to know: does Carl believe everything that players say to the media?
My percentage of how much I believe what they say?
No. He didn't ask you for a percentage. He said, "Do you believe everything players tell the media?"
Not everything, but when it comes to the part about pressure, yeah, I believe them about pressure, absolutely, because you know what.
So what percentage would you say you believe, Carl? Because you were going to say that anyway.
85%.
85%. Okay.
I believe them. Yeah, 85%. Because again, you have personal documentaries where you sit there and you talk to players. You have testimonies where you sit there and you see the emotion on their players and what they tell you. Of course, chances are some of them, fabricate some of their stories. But when you sit there and you get to learn a person,
nice backtrack, cool. I see you
backtrack. But in order for you to have a media, and again, this is when it comes to interviewing. In order for you to speak to a player, you need to build trust. And that's part of the problem is, and again, to Kyrie's point, there are probably some media outlets that he doesn't trust. That's what it comes down to.
Why wouldn't he trust them, Carl?
Because they're lying about him. That's the difference. When they lie, that's the difference. That's what you're not understanding. When the media person sits there and lie, right? Since you like to use if, I'm going to use if. If I was a professional right now and I decided to publish a whole bunch of lies about Chris Paul, a whole bunch of lies about Kyrie Irving, a whole bunch of lies about LeBron James, you think they're going to want to talk to me? No, they're not.
Carl, so we continue with that. So say someone does lie, the players read the lies. You've seen it in the movies where, the player is reading the magazine and says, I didn't say this, and he throws it down. Don't you think that puts pressure on them in terms of their legacy?
There's a difference, but there's a difference between a lie and a pressure and telling them that they did, they need something for their legacies. No, if that's the case, then you would have all these players, these players doing things that they're not supposed to be doing.
Because the fans, I understand. The players aren't really going to care about the fans. Yeah, it's nice you root for me, but basically, I'm just playing for this laundry. I'm just a player. might be from New York. I'm playing for
about the fans,
California. I don't care. But in terms of the media, Carl, you can say that it does maybe put a little pressure if they're reading those things. If they're reading the comparison list, it might be the pressure they put on themselves
players
internally.
Read social media. Players read media tabloids. Players are human, and that's that.
So basically, all the players here
waxing basically all the players about all these niceties that players have
all the players that they're lying. TK, we got to wrap it up. So basically, you're telling me that all the players that I read their quotes about them when they talk about pressure and it doesn't get to them, they're all lying. That's basically what you're saying right now.
Based on the players you read and based on their actions, absolutely. Yes, because
you're
a
like Kyle Lowry. Yes. Like a player like Kyle Lowry. So a guy like Kyle Lowry who says that he doesn't care about pressure, he's lying.
You mean the same Kyle Lowry that the narrative was he was a choke artist in the playoffs? Even
basically, so he's lying.
He was in the comments talking about.
They asked him a specific question about it, and he's lying. Got it. Kevin Durant, they also asked a question about it. Damian Lillard, they asked him about pressure.
You used Kevin Durant, the guy that had a burner account?
Yes.
You talking about he doesn't care people think?
And I have another guy, and Damian Lillard, he said when it comes to pressure, nah, fam, this is just playing ball. Pressure is the homeless man who doesn't know where his next meal is coming from. Pressure is the single mom who is trying to scuffle to try to pay her rent. We get paid a lot of money to play the game, but don't get me wrong, there are challenges. But to call it pressure is almost an insult to regular people. So he's lying.
Did you, TK, you hear earlier when I said Damian Lillard is from that old school nostalgic mentality. He's gonna
right, but again, listen to what he said, though.
Is he already not being knocked in the media?
But listen again, but TK, listen though, he's moving. Every time I tell him a player, he has an excuse for that player. I talked about Reggie Miller, he had an excuse for him. I talked about Chris Paul, he had an excuse for him. I talked about Damian Lillard, he had an excuse for him.
Excuses.
No, it's not. No, it's
you go by words, I go by actions, bro.
It's excuses, bro. Get out of here.
So you can't. The players have said things. They've also done things. Is there any middle ground? As we end up here, is there any middle ground that maybe you guys can find where looking at the fans, looking at the media, looking at playoff pressure in the NBA, is there any middle ground? Greg, I don't think there's a middle ground here right now. So is there anything you'd like to say as we finish up here?
I don't think there's a middle ground here because only in the NBA do you find this kind of pressure to perform in the postseason. He has yet to comment on the other players I mentioned and the fact that they are great and they're not even deemed, unsuccessful because of their lack of playoff success. All of them in the NFL, they all have under 10 playoff games played, and they're some of the best players at their position of all time.
I addressed those players. I addressed them because they're going to
we're going to let Greg finish, and then I'll let you finish, Carl.
Yeah.
Even Kelly woke up to tell you wrong. Say hi.
What's up, baby girl?
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? He's sitting here, right, and focusing on. It's funny because he's talking about his interviews where he actually pushes narratives of said players not caring about pressure, but when their actions show otherwise. James Harden, LeBron James, Anthony Davis, Kyrie Irving, these players have all made moves in their careers based on trying to cement their legacies.
So you're basically telling me that Kyrie Irving wanted out of Cleveland because of the media. That's basically what you're saying right now. Right?
That's part of it.
No,
because he was told he couldn't win without LeBron.
That's not part of it.
He wanted to go somewhere where he could be that guy.
No, that's not part of it.
That's not Carl. Don't make me go.
Carl, you said Carl. So middle ground. You say that's not part of it, but middle ground. Is there any to be found here, Carl? Greg says
there can be middle ground. Greg has to understand you can't sit here and blame the media. Again, pressure deals with, if you look at the definition of pressure, deals with coercing. The media doesn't coerce anyone to do anything. They don't hold a gun to anybody's head and tell them that they have to go play somewhere. You don't want to go play somewhere, that's fine. You can sit there and do whatever you want to do. It's your career, it's your life. You do what you want to do. The players put pressure on themselves. That's what I'm trying to have Greg understand, is that the pressure comes from within yourself. And the players have said that themselves. You've seen it among themselves. That's where most of the pressure comes from. It doesn't come from the media. It doesn't come from the fans. You think Russell Westbrook doesn't care what us fans have to say about him. They don't care about what the media has to say about them. And that's just the truth. Greg doesn't want to believe it. That's fine with me. But I know what the truth is because I speak to them. And I told them 85% of what they tell you is the truth. Because if that's the case, then that means everything in the media is fabricated and it's a lie.
So there's a 15% window they're lying to you. Cool. TK, last point. He keeps saying that the media and the fans don't pressure the players. You know what I'm saying? But let's keep in mind that Carl is the same person that has these biased media blinders on, that feeds into the same media BS, because he's the same person that debated me on calling a MVP, a scoring champ, okay, one of the best and most prolific scorers of our generation.
And guess what? You fell for the bum. And guess what? The bait worked, didn't it?
Because of his
bait worked, didn't it? Right? And you think James Harden cares about me calling him? James Harden is going to the Nets because Karl Kulanj called him a bum. That's basically what Greg is saying. Got it.
So you heard. And this is what I'm talking about.
Got it. I heard you loud and clear. So basically, because I called him a bum, and other players the media says that he's a bum. I said that he's a bum. So everyone is saying
the media
says,
got it. James Harden is a choke artist. Carl then buys into that.
Got it. So it took him. So basically, he's been in Houston for 8 years, and it has nothing to do with the fact that Mike D'Antoni left the team. It has nothing to do with that that Daryl Morey left the team. But the media decided that they're going to.
No, you seriously arguing with me here? You tried to
I'm not. But again,
on camera. What are you talking about, bro?
But listen though, Daniel Morey left the team, right? Mike D'Antoni left the team, and James Harden is looking around like, what is Houston doing? But because the media told him to go to the Nets, that's why he's going to play with the Nets.
No. The media says he's a choke artist.
So again, so the fact that Daniel Morey and Mike D'Antoni left the team have nothing to do with him wanting out. Huh?
Again.
No, answer my question. The fact that Daryl Morey and Mike D'Antoni left the team have nothing to do with him wanting out. And even Russell Westbrook
before
too.
that. He asked out before that.
But he didn't. No, he didn't ask out before that. That's where you're wrong because there was still a team together. It's after the fact. Do your research. You still didn't answer my question.
You should have done your research before coming here because you embarrassed yourself.
Answer my question. Answer my question, bro.
You trying to play the interview card like that meant something.
Listen, he didn't answer my question. I asked you a direct question. Answer it. Is it because of Daryl Morey and Mike D'Antoni leaving is the fact that James Harden wants out?
No, I told you it's because he's trying to cement his legacy.
Have a good day. Have a good day. You don't know basketball. Stick
You're
to
the
baseball.
same person
what you know
that said Anthony Davis went to LA to win, not to cement his legacy.
Yes, it's true. It's to win.
Yo,
have a good day. You don't know basketball.
You sir, we've not been able to find a middle ground, but I think
again, it's comical. James Harden never wanted to leave beforehand, but the minute that his GM and his coach leaves, he wants out. Oh, but now it's the media's fault. What? What the fuck are you talking about? Shut up. Shut up, bro.
Keep yelling.
Shut up, bro. You don't know what you're talking about. Come on, man. Talk basketball. Stick to baseball.
I'm sure we'll talk about
it. Stick to baseball. Shut up.
At another time. I feel like there's going to be
there it is. I was waiting for it. I was waiting for the stick to baseball because he got cooked.
Chefed up something like James Harden. I didn't get cooked. But again, I asked you a direct question.
Finalize my James Harden point.
Get out of here, man.
The media has painted James Harden as a choke artist, yet he has done everything physically possible.
Out of all years, prior to that, he didn't want to leave. You didn't hear any rumbling
physically possible. He's done everything.
I asked him a specific question. Listen to what you're saying.
I answered you. I said no. I'm speaking
because you're wrong. You're absolutely wrong. Because go look it up. Prior to this, James Harden didn't want to leave Houston. What are you talking about? Go look it up.
There you go. Believing shit again.
No, I'm not believing shit. Go look it up. It's facts. So you spoke to James Harden, and before that, he told you he wanted to leave. Shut up. Shut up.
Bro. All right, well, thank you both for being in this debate.
You're wrong. You don't know what you're talking about. Shut up.
It's been a lot of fun. Make sure you stay tuned. Carl, we got Paul and we got Declan up next, don't we?
Yo, Paul and Keezy, shut up. You're stupid. I hope you get cooked, bro.
Shut the hell up, man. How you going to sit here and tell James Harden?
Parting words from Greg Polius.
You just as dumb, you dumbass.
Thank you very much, Greg. Thank you very much, Carl. Thank you for letting me try to moderate that. It was a lot of fun. I like letting you guys go, a little free reign. I viewed that as a no DQ match of debate.
You got this, bro.
So, thanks, Carl. I thought that was really good. I think we're going to get a lot of good clips out of that.
Guys,
what's up, TK?
We ran over time. Sorry about that. How you guys doing?
All right.
How you guys doing?
Pretty good. Thanks for having me.
So, we're
Carl,
here to
I think you won that.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it, man.
I think you won that. I think you it's a lot of flip flopping going on. You know, and like I love that you brought up Russell Westbrook because Russell Westbrook don't give a fuck what the media says.
So, guys, we're here to talk about Eli Manning. Declan believes that Eli Manning was a top 5 quarterback. What are your thoughts here, Declan?
Well, not just me. The man himself believes he's a top 5 quarterback.
Easy. I'll ask you straight up.
Can you guys hear?
Eli Manning, it'll be a top 5, top 10 quarterback.
Yeah, and I think I am. I think we have the offense that can, have.
The man said it himself. Eli Manning, top 5 quarterback, Super Bowl year, 2011. And I'm glad I had started out like that after Greg's lovely interest with his music. I don't know what it was. Anyway, Eli Manning. You want my opening statement, Carl? Is that what this is?
Yes, please.
Okay. Eli Manning. 2011-2012 Super Bowl year, as you all know, threw for 5,000 yards, one short of 30 touchdowns. Was he a top 5 quarterback that year? You bet. Cements himself as such in the postseason when he beats Matt Ryan, when he beats Aaron Rodgers, and then he beats Alex Smith and the best defense in the NFL. And then nonetheless, to finish it off, he beats Tom Brady. So that's what I got to say for now. I'll let Paul speak because I'm sure the opening segment will be forgotten by the time this lovely debate concludes.
For me, well, first off, Carl, let me just say thank you for giving me the opportunity to kill Declan on live television.
No problem, sir.
For one, I love Eli Manning. I've watched every single one of his games from his senior year of college, before Declan was even born, till now. And to say he was a top 5 quarterback, I'll be lying to you. Because this is a guy who's in 16 years only made the playoffs 6 times. And in those 6 years, he got smoked 3 times in the playoffs. And one of the narratives that I hate is when we give quarterbacks credit for what the team defense does and then what the special team does, but then we don't give them any faults when they lose. So Eli Manning is a perfect example If you look at that 2011 playoff run, it was filled with spectacular catches by Hakeem Nicks and Victor Cruz, but they don't get the credit for it. It's Eli that gets the credit for it. And he's never been in the top 5 in quarterback rating or QBR in his career. So there's no way he was a top 5 quarterback, in my opinion.
And Deck,
So-
go ahead, Deck.
Yeah, so here's my response. We're not talking about his whole career. We're talking about one season. That's 2011. I'm not even going to, mess around with 2015 or any other years. I'm going to speak strictly on 2011 if we want to talk about that. Does Hakeem Nicks and Victor Cruz get credit for Eli Manning throwing 1 interception that entire postseason when the game was practically out of reach in Lambeau Field in the freezing cold? No, they don't, because Eli Manning kept the ball under wraps. He threw for 9 touchdowns and 1 pick in those 4 postseason games in an excellent run. So, listen, you said he got smoked 3 out of 4 times. I would say that that's not true. In his second year, he got smoked against Carolina. I'll give you that. But then in his third year, he lost 23-20 in Philly. Again, obviously on the road as a wild card team in a division team. We know how hard it is to play in Philly. So if you want to say he got smoked in that game, that's fine. Statistically, he was fine. He had 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Nothing there that was terrible. He played good in that game. They weren't the better team, and that's how that went. Obviously, you know what happened in 2016 when he lost, when the Giants lost, and him, of course, to the Green Bay Packers. They had a top 10 defense that year. They gave up 38 points. I'm not going to blame it completely on them because obviously they were drops. Eli threw for 300 yards nonetheless, and his 1 interception came in the end when the game was out of reach. It was literally 15 seconds left in the fourth quarter when they were just trying to save face and make it a little bit closer. That game was close after 3 quarters. I wouldn't argue that he was the problem there, even though that wasn't his best season per se. But again, 2011, I mean, we can get into that if you want to get into the numbers and the wins, which I know you don't like to get into numbers, but you're faulting Eli for the numbers here and discrediting his Super Bowl win and his division win for that matter.
Well, if don't forget 2008, he got smoked by Donovan McNabb at home, where they couldn't score.
We're going back to 08 now.
Okay, go back to 08. No, in 08, as the number 1 seed, he got smoked by Donovan McNabb at home after he got a bye. But if we want to go stick to 2011, the reason why I don't give Eli the top 5 nod is because I think Rodgers was the better quarterback. Breeze, Brady, Romo, Big Ben, and Matt Ryan were better quarterbacks. That's already 6. Aaron Rodgers was the MVP that year. And his QBR in 2011 was 9th. His quarterback rating was 7th. So even if you want to look at, and part of the reason why he threw for almost 5,000 yards is because the Giants wide receivers led the league in yak, yards after catch. Victor Cruz was number 1. If you look at some of his biggest touchdowns that year, they were all
he was not number 1.
Yak. They were all yak. The 99-yard touchdown versus the Jets that helped the Giants make the playoffs. The 2 touchdowns against the Eagles were all 10-yard slants. If you even want to look at the playoffs, the 72-yard touchdown by Hakeem Nicks against the Atlanta Falcons, it
was a deep pass on the left sideline.
Which touchdown are you talking about?
That was a 20-yard pass over the middle to Hakeem Nicks.
I'm talking about Victor Cruz
when he threw it up into the end zone from the 40-yard line. No, I'm talking about the Eagles. The Falcons won Hakeem Nicks. That was a 25-yard pass that got turned into a rack, which is true. But even still, Victor Cruz was 6 in racks that year. The connection between Eli and Victor Cruz was 3rd in air yards that year and 6 in yak. So that defeats your point altogether.
I said the Giants wide receivers in a whole led the league in yak.
You said
the Giants wide receivers in a whole. But then even the numbers that you're saying, the Hakeem Nicks touchdown was not a 25-yard. I watched the highlights.
I remember it.
That 99-yard touchdown, that 72-yard touchdown, and even that 66-yard touchdown to Hakeem Nicks against the Packers, Eli Manning only threw the ball a combined 31 yards. So the rest of the 206 yards were yak. So if you look at majority of his touchdowns that year, they were mostly yak.
So then
that is an incorrect stat.
So then, Paul, look at his some of his top records were broken in 2011. He threw for the most fourth quarter touchdown passes with 15 that year. He had the longest pass completion and touchdown, 99 yards, and he had the most passing yards in a single postseason in 2011. So does that matter to you?
It does not. I'll tell you why. That 99-yard touchdown was all Victor Cruz. We all saw the game on Christmas. That was all Victor Cruz. It was a 10-yard pass. Eli Manning was awful that game. He threw for like 36%, 9 for 25, 225 yards. That was all Victor Cruz. Eli Manning did not do anything to win that game against the Jets.
So you want to blame Eli Manning for bad numbers, even though we got the win, when you're the same guy faulting Justin Herbert, saying that he's been bad all year because he's got 2 wins on a Charger team that is injured and defeated and not good at all.
One of the reasons why I did that is to show the hypocrisy of Greg, because 3 years ago, Greg Polius said that Blake Bortles was at fault for the fourth quarter collapse of the Jacksonville Jaguars defense. So to see him comment and say that it's the Chargers defense fault for why Herbert is doing well and it's collapsing, it's just basically I've been playing reverse psychology to show the hypocrisy of Greg. But I love Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert is a great quarterback, and he's going to be a top 10 quarterback very soon. And he's won me a lot of money this year. I love the dude. I was just being anti-Herbert to show the hypocrisy of Greg, but I really do love Justin Herbert.
So, okay, you love Justin Herbert. That's fine. Are you not the same guy saying that Tyrod Taylor should start? That Anthony Lynn's going to lose his job for that reason? He is going to lose his job. Just because I think that he's a top 10 quarterback doesn't mean that he puts the Chargers in the best position to win this year. I think he's going to be a top 10 quarterback maybe next year, 2 years from now. He's very good. He does everything well, but he does not put the Chargers in the best position to win. And I'm seeing it in the fourth quarter of these games where he's 3 and outs, and he's putting the defense in bad positions bottom 5 blowing leads. That's why you're seeing it in the games. How could you go and praise him and then say that a backup quarterback that has been a nice bridge quarterback, you admitted it your whole career, is now all of a sudden a better option than Justin Herbert? That's ridiculous. If he would have had a starting job last year.
He did have a starting job last year. No, he was a starting quarterback for the Cleveland. He was the starting quarterback for the Cleveland.
That was 2 years ago. He was Phillip Rivers' backup last year on the Chargers.
I didn't Phillip Rivers.
But Declan, what do you have to say to the people who say Eli had a mediocre career at best? I mean, he only had 2 successful postseasons and that's it. And some people are still on the fence about his Hall of Fame now.
Well, I'll say this. If you think mediocre is 2 Super Bowl wins, 2 Super Bowl MVPs, if mediocre is being consistent and beating the greatest quarterback of all time twice in the biggest game in sports, then I don't know what to tell you. Maybe go research what winning is. I don't know what to say to that. But listen, I'm not even talking about his whole career. I'm talking about the second Super Bowl year when he was a top 5 quarterback undisputedly. And I'd love to get into the guys that Paul just named 5 minutes ago.
I wholeheartedly disagree. 2011. I think one of the things about the Giants that year, luck. And they say luck is when opportunity, something like that. Some old
opportunity
phrase.
Presents itself.
Yeah, where preparation meets opportunity. And the Giants got lucky a lot in 2011, especially that NFC Championship game where I think the Ted Ginn was the punt returner. I think he was out.
Ted Ginn was hurt. Kyle. Yeah,
and then he had two fumbles that basically handed the Giants the win. We saw what happened at Lambeau. I think that Hakeem Nicks Hail Mary catch, the Hakeem Nicks breaking a tackle and running 66 yards. Eli played great that game. Even I think the refs gave the Packers 2 touchdowns after some bad questionable calls.
That was a blowout.
That should have been like a 50-6 game. The Falcons game, was the defense.
So how is?
But that doesn't make you a top 5 quarterback.
Wait, hold on. If it should be 50-6 and you beat the defending MVP who's 15-1, you're saying it should have been a 50-6 game. That doesn't make you a top 5 quarterback. If you have all the numbers,
that does not.
If you have all the numbers and you go to the best quarterback in football,
so wait a minute. So in terms of top 5 quarterback, what is the criteria that you guys have for that? Is it does the postseason matter in that or not?
I don't think it should, because we've seen mediocre quarterbacks win in the Super Bowl. So it just because you win a Super Bowl doesn't mean elevate you to top 5. Like just because.
So why did they win? Why did they win?
The whole team played well. The Giants team played well. The defense played well. The offense played well. The wide receivers made clutch catches.
Hold on. Not the defense. The defense was 25th in the league.
In 2011?
Say the pass rush.
We have some people who want to get in on this debate. Ray Jarvis is trying to get in on here. If you guys want me to let him in, I can let him in.
Wait,
he could.
I'll let him. We can let him.
You want me to let him in? That's fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
How
Dude, but now it's going to be outnumbered.
2011?
I don't need help right now. It's 2011. Look it up right now. Somebody in the comments look it up. They were ranked 25th. Eli Manning was the only quarterback in NFL history.
So, Declan, you don't want me to let him in?
I'm fine right now. You can let him in at any point you want. I'm just saying, there's really nothing. I'm fine with whatever. I'm cool with this debate. If Ray wants to get in, I love Ray J. He doesn't like me calling him Ray J, but I love calling him Ray J. Ray Jarvis, my boy. You know that. That's fine. But I don't want to outnumber our boy Paul here. Like, I'm cool with whatever. I'm really fine with whatever.
I'm trying to figure out why you think Eli Manning played better than 4 other quarterbacks. I named 6 that were better than him.
Let's get into
just
it.
Because he won a Super Bowl.
Let's get into it.
Did anybody say that Trent Dilfer was a Hall of Fame or was a top 5 quarterback after he won the Super Bowl?
No, because Trent Dilfer is not top 10 in passing yards and passing touchdowns all time. But give me your 6
has to do with not missing a game. That has to do with not missing a game. That has nothing to do with his talent.
Phillip Rivers.
Phillip Rivers is the same thing. Nobody calls Phillip Rivers a top 5 quarterback.
Actually, he's not the same. He's not. You did the other day. You literally said that he was better than Eli this year.
This
year? In 2011.
But I didn't name him now.
This year meaning 2011, the year we've been talking about the whole time. All right, so give me the guys you just named. And I'll answer.
Aaron Rodgers, right MVP, Drew Brees, Tom Brady, Tony Romo, Big Ben, Matt Ryan.
Agreed.
Tony Romo had a better numbers that year.
Right now, you want to get into? You want to get into big? Oh, now numbers matter. You want Jar? Just give me 1 sec. I just want to get into Big Ben quick. We want to get into Big Ben. Big Ben threw for 21 touchdowns, 14 interceptions. He had a 63% completion percentage. He threw for 4,077 yards and had a 90.1 rating. So, same completion percentage as Eli Manning. Nearly 1,000 less yards, 8 less touchdowns, and 2 less interceptions. That's a better season. 21 touchdowns, 4,000 yards compared to 29 and 5,000 is a better season.
Okay,
with
normally
a better rating.
Normally I don't do this, but it all depends. People want to ask to come in, so I graciously Ray requested to come in, and I asked you guys first, and you guys are okay with that. If you guys said no, I would not let him in. But Ray, did you have something to say to add to this debate real quick?
You know, first and foremost, Declan, don't call me Ray J. I'm not going to be out here calling you Dicklin, so don't call me Ray J. Let's set that tone off the rip. Secondly, we hopscotching about with this topic. The people want to know, when was this man ever top 5 in the NFL? I don't want to hear about a singular season with Eli Manning. And to Declan's point, I'm sorry, African Paul, you suck once again. Yes, Eli Manning was top 5 the second championship season. You hopscotching about, yak and rack and all this other nonsense. It doesn't matter. So, what was it, Declan? What was it? 3rd in air yards? That means that for your argument.
3rd in air yards between Eli and
air yards?
Yes, that means the time that the ball travels in the air before it is caught, silly. So therefore, your rack argument, and you're talking about singular moments. What about the other touchdowns, African Paul? What about the other ones? Make a concise argument.
This is what's wrong with America now. You're now talking about air yards now? Oh my goodness. Air yards? Is that what you got? What about quarterback rating? QBR. Now you're talking about air yards? That's a reach. That's a reach. Because 2 weeks ago you criticized Declan for saying that Daniel Jones was 18 for 18 in big throws. So now you're talking about air yards? 2 weeks ago, you were criticizing big throws as an analytical stat, and now you want to bring up air yards because it fits your narrative? That's poor. Come on, Ray. Listen, Ray. First of all, Ray.
Wait, hold on, Ray. Go ahead, Ray. What you saying?
You see what I just did?
Yeah.
You see how the energy just increased?
Yeah, totally.
You can kick me off now.
I think he's gone.
For me, you can't just bring up these random analytical stats. Oh, he was 3rd in air yards. What is that? How does air yard prove you're a top 5 quarterback?
Yak and air yards are in the same category. It's the
same has more to do with a quarterback's passing yards than air yards. Because if a wide receiver takes a 10-yard slant, 99 yards, the quarterback gets credit for the 99 yards. But if a wide receiver drops a 60-yard bomb, the quarterback gets credit for throwing air yards, even if it's completed or not. So again, the Giants wide receivers, not Victor Cruz, in a total, the Giants wide receivers were number 1 in yak, which is why Eli threw for almost 5,000 yards. Look at his best season.
You know why he threw almost 5,000 yards?
Were when the Giants had either a receiver that led the league in yak, or as a whole, the Giants wide receivers led the league in yak, 2015 and 2011. So Eli's, and then he was never
Carl, he just
top
said air
5
yards
in
isn't
QBR or quarterback
He
rating.
just said,
Go ahead,
I
Zach.
don't understand why you're using air yards. What is air yards? How does that make you better than Aaron Rodgers? Because you threw a 60-yard bomb and it was incomplete. How does that make you better than Aaron Rodgers and Drew Brees? What the hell is going on here?
Who said he was better than the two of them? And why are you saying you don't know what's going on about air yards? Clearly you don't, because you just misquoted what air yards are. How would air yards make sense if the guy didn't catch the damn ball? How would that count for anything?
It does count. Air yards, if you throw a ball at 60 yards and it's incomplete, it's credited as air yards for the wide receiver and the quarterback. Yes, it is. Look it up. Look it up.
You seem like they need to look it up because you don't even have an idea what it is. Air yards
I
completion.
do. Look it up.
It's a
wide receivers get credited for air yards, whether it's incomplete or not. That's why you see, T.Y. Hilton air yards 131.5, even though he only had 10 yards because he missed a lot of deep throws. So that's what air yards are. So you can't use air yards and say, Eli Manning was incomplete on a 60-yard pass 5 times, so he was third in air yards. That's terrible. That doesn't make you better than Aaron Rodgers or Drew Brees or Tom Brady or Tony Romo or Matt Ryan or Big Ben.
He was better than those guys. Absolutely. I just gave you a reason why he's better than Big Ben. That didn't even include the Super Bowl.
Even if we remove Big Ben, there's still 5 other quarterbacks on the list.
Big Ben in stats. He won the division. He wasn't a wild card team like Big Ben. Let's go.
He won the division at 9-7. Is that what you're celebrating about? He won the division at 9-7. Come on, man. Why is it that we love mediocrity now? What happened?
What are you talking about?
What is 9-7?
Winning a Super Bowl is mediocrity? You've been championing Cam Newton going to the Super Bowl. Eli won the damn game twice, and that's mediocre.
You keep switching.
You keep moving the goalposts wide like you're a Vikings fan.
The 9-7
Blair Walsh to make a field goal.
Wait, what did you say about Blair Walsh?
You're moving the goalposts wide enough like you're a Vikings fan dreaming that he made a field goal in the playoff game.
Man.
That's how you're moving the goalposts.
Guys, I'm gonna try to get in one more segment here because I'm running for time. But let me get Paul your final thoughts here.
Okay. At no point of Eli Manning's career was he ever top 5 in quarterback rating or QBR. His 2 best years, statistical years, 2011 and 2015, he had Victor Cruz, who was a star in 2011, and Odell Beckham. Odell Beckham led the league in yak in 2015, and then in 2011, Giants wide receivers led the league in yak. So to sit here and say he's a top 5 quarterback because he won a Super Bowl, yes, he played amazing in that Super Bowl, but give credit to the wide receivers who made plays that year. Hakeem Nicks made 2 spectacular plays in the playoffs that year. Like, we got to give credit where credit is due. We cannot sit here and say Eli Manning is a top 5 quarterback because he won a Super Bowl. I can name you a lot of mediocre Super Bowls. The Giants had another backup quarterback win a Super Bowl in the 90s.
Jeff Hostetler.
Make him a top 5 quarterback.
Comparable to him? How is Eli Manning comparable to him? And you want to talk about Matt Ryan? Matt Ryan threw for almost 1,000 yards less than Eli Manning that year, had a lower rating, and to top it off, had a lower completion percentage. Had the same 61.3 to 61. How are you going to tell me that Eli Manning did not have a better year than Matt Ryan? I'm not even going to go to the fact that Matt Ryan got shut out by the Giants in the postseason. How are you going to tell me when Eli has better numbers?
How does that make you a top 5 quarterback? We can bring up all the quarterbacks
than 4 of them.
We can bring up all the quarterbacks who led the league in passing the last 2 years. None of them were top 5 quarterbacks. Jameis Winston had a career year last year. He's not a top 5 quarterback. Phillip Rivers was top 5 in passing last year. He was not a top 5 quarterback.
Did he win a division? He had a sub 500 record. Did Eli Manning win a Super Bowl that year? Did he win a division?
Eli Manning won the division at 9-7. That does not make you a top 5 quarterback.
What did he win?
That does not make you a top 5 quarterback. And all the excuses that you were giving, he didn't have a good defense.
There's no excuses.
He didn't have a good O-line. He didn't have this.
Fact.
We have seen quarterbacks succeed with bad O-lines. Deshaun Watson, Russell Wilson, and they were top 5 that year. We have seen quarterbacks dominate with bad defenses. Patrick Mahomes won MVP with bad defenses. Stop using, Eli didn't have this, Eli didn't have that. That's why he sucked from this year to this year. He was never a top 5 quarterback. He was mediocre. He took advantage of great opportunities when the Giants were placed in opportunities to win. He took advantage of those, and he won the big games when he needed to. But outside of that, he was average to mediocre at best.
Hold on.
All right, guys.
Carl, I got to get a last point in. You gave me 6 quarterbacks that you think is better, and now you're calling him average, which is completely incorrect, when he had better numbers than Matt Ryan, better numbers than Ben Roethlisberger. So that sits him in the top 5 by your own stupid analysis.
I don't think he was better than Matt Ryan that year. Matt Ryan had a better record. I don't think he was better than Matt Ryan that year. Matt Ryan and company ran the ball more when they had the lead. That's a difference. So you're not going to put up the same passing yards.
What running game did Eli Manning have? He had Ahmad Bradshaw and Brandon Jacobs. That was good,
okay,
but that's not what everyone else had.
Guys, I think we're going to have to have a part 2 because we have some other hit list contributors who want to be part of it. Travis tried to get in, but I'm pressed for time. I want to get to one quick segment before I go, but I definitely would like to have this debate again. Maybe we'll have a part 2 next week because there seems to be a lot of hit list contributors who want to chime in and tune in. Thank you guys for joining me. This was great. Thank you so much. And thank you to Ray Jarvis for coming.
That debate with Greg. I don't know what the hell Greg was talking about. Flip-flopping the same way I drive cars, man. Switching lanes the same way I drive cars.
Thank you guys. Thank you. You're watching the Sports Hit List by the fans and for the fans. We're
here. You're wrong. Take that L.
We are here till 5:53. I got a quick debate here.
Bro, you hold an L just like Cam Newton in the Super Bowl. Let's go, baby.
Mr. Allen, how you doing, sir?
Mr. Allen, can you hear him? He's saying hi to you. Allen, he's saying hi.
Mr.
TK the Tank, are you here?
I'm here.
I've been watching your video.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. We can hear you. Allen, can you hear us?
Yep.
How you guys doing? So we're here to quickly wrap up the show. We got, I think, 4 minutes. So let's make it as quick as possible where we're talking about the greatest pro wrestling matches of all time. TK had an issue with the Mount Rushmore. He had an issue with what Allen had to say. So let's go for it. TK, what's your issue?
My issue is that Allen said that he would take Bayley versus Sasha Banks over Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania. Bayley versus Sasha Banks, I should clarify, in Brooklyn in 2015. I was in the building in Brooklyn in 2015. I watched that match live. That match is a great match, worthy of the match of the year title it won. But when you look at WrestleMania 25, that is the best pro wrestling match ever. You can give me any other match. That one is the best because that is a story that culminates through the whole careers of 2 of the best to ever do it. The Undertaker, the dead man, the phenom, the man with the streak, versus Shawn Michaels, Mr. WrestleMania, the showstopper. They went in and they had a near perfect match in which you could look at the stories of their careers. Undertaker had never beaten Shawn Michaels one-on-one. He lost to him in 2007. He lost to him in Hell in a Cell. He lost to him at Royal Rumble. Undertaker had never been able to beat him. Shawn Michaels was looked at to be the man to break that streak. They went in, had a great match. You saw the Undertaker, who had beaten Edge the year before in the main event of WrestleMania with the Go-Go Plata, put that on first. Didn't get Michaels with that. Didn't get him with the chokeslam. Didn't get him with a last ride. Finally, Michaels goes to skin the cat. Undertaker grabs him, boom, tombstone. He kicks out. JR says he has an out-of-body experience. Sweet chin music. Undertaker kicks out, and then finally a tombstone for the win. Just to recap the match, that match is absolutely perfect, and it takes 2 whole distinct Hall of Fame careers to build to that match where both guys, Shawn Michaels can drop an elbow, he can put on a crossface, he can do whatever he can, hitting sweet chin musics. You look at just the history and what it took to build up to that match. And to me, it outshines and outclasses Bayley versus Sasha Banks because they were just rookies. They have so much more to build from that. If you want to say Bayley versus Sasha Banks was their version of Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels at Hell in a Cell, and that was their 5-star match early in their career, sure. But it cannot surpass the pageantry, the epicness, the absolute just myth that is Shawn Michaels versus Undertaker.
Okay, TK, I hate to cut you off, but we're pressed for time. Alan,
I know pressed time. I tried to fit all my stuff in there, and I didn't even get half of it.
Alan, go ahead, sir.
Minutes. How can I combat that? There's no chance now. Listen, it's a great match. Don't get me wrong. It doesn't culminate the rivalry, though. That rivalry extended beyond that point to a match that's the second isn't as good as the first. It's a great match. Undertaker Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 25 is a great match. I don't think it's flawless. I think it comes to a screeching halt at one point when they do the very dangerous cameraman bump. I think, it could have picked up a pace there. For me, I lost a little because I rewatched it today because I wasn't going to come in without all guns blazing. I watched it, and the end of the match.
First off the top rope, belly to belly. I watched that match too. No, trust me, I got you.
End of the match, Michaels goes for the jumping nothing. He never does a moonsault really, and he decides at that point in the match he's going to do a moonsault to a standing Undertaker. So the end of the match logic isn't quite there for me the way some others is. I think it's a great match. I don't think it's one of the best. Bayley Sasha Banks reset an entire division in pro wrestling. Like NXT's women's division was good prior to that, but you talk about culmination. That was the culmination of the new beginning of the respect for women's wrestling, and the match uses the psyche. I'd say it's a better technical match than Undertaker Shawn Michaels in the ring. Undertaker Shawn Michaels towards the end becomes finisher kick out, finisher kick out, finisher kick out, where this match builds to where she has to do a Frankenstein or reverse off the top rope, a move she never does to be able to stop Sasha Banks. It's a phenomenal storytelling match. You have the broken hand and the finger stomping. There's psychology to it. Sasha Banks, there's psychology to both. But I think what Bayley Sasha Banks brought to the table did more for the sport and the entertainment venue, whatever you want to say, than Shawn Michaels' HBK Undertaker did, which was a great match and kind of like an all-star game of sorts. But it's not to the level of Sasha Banks Bayley in the grand scheme of things.
All right, guys, I got to let you go, but I got a comment. Alan, Mike Marilla told you to shut up. That's what
Mike's going to just talk. Mike's a horrible debater. Mike's a horrible debater. But if you're talking about psychology, Sasha totally just celebrating with him after the match in a click kind of like rehash, that ruins the psychology of the match previous. You look at Undertaker.
And Ray Jarvis is in the comments. He said Omega Okada.
A whole other year and built to a retirement match of one of the best to ever do it.
And he said Omega Okada was probably better than all those matches. That's what in 2018. That's basically.
But the debate was only between these two matches.
Correct? No, right, absolutely.
I didn't bring up any other match.
But I definitely want to continue this. Maybe we can continue it next week. I'll give you guys more time to continue it next week because we have to log off the next show coming up. Below the Mic is up next with Errol, who is the CEO of the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Please make sure you tune in. Also, please make sure you download the Worldwide Sports Radio Network app. Thank you, guys, and I'll talk to you guys soon.
Thank you.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.